गुड इवनिंग मेरे प्यारे बच्चों. आई होप everybody is doing good. Good evening everyone. I suppose that we share the same feeling when classes are scheduled quite a bit apart from each other in time. We had a last class last week. This week we only have one class. We could have had class tomorrow as well, but tomorrow is a holiday, as you know. Tomorrow we are off because of Muharram. So not very convenient for either of us, for me as well as you, because it certainly breaks the continuity. But still, such are the times, we'll have to live with it. I'm taking classes in two other batches. एक case studies वाला batch है, and there is a new batch that has started. What I'm planning to do is that from next week onwards, in fact from this week onwards, I started to take 2 classes per day. क्योंकि case studies वाली class जो है, that is not so much taxing physically. उसमें बोलना बहुत होता है, but yes, उसमें बीच में आराम भी मिलता रहता है. So what I'm planning to do is I'll be taking 2 classes for some time जब तक case studies वाला batch चल रहा है, so that this continuity doesn't break. If I adjust that case studies classes in the morning, so if I adjust that, then I will be able to click about 2 or 3 classes, at least 2 classes with you per week. या तो 2 क्लास आपके बैच में होंगी, 3 क्लास दूसरे बैच में होंगी, या फिर 3 क्लासेस आपके बैच में होंगी, 2 क्लास दूसरे बैच में होंगी, apart from case studies. So let's see how it works out. Anyways, चलो, let's start with the class for the day. Let me see if there is any question. I'll recap, चिंता मत करो, I'll recap what we did last time. Don't worry about it. I'll recap about when we were studying effects of inflation. That is the important part. I'll recap it, don't worry. If any other question apart from that, I'll let me answer. Let me see. अगर उसके सिवा कोई और question है तो. अच्छा, कोई और question नहीं है, ठीक है, अच्छी बात है. अगर कोई और question नहीं है तो topics covered in the class plus topics covered in the class plus NCERT are more than sufficient, or do we have to cover whole Vision IAS material because it is too bulky to cover? यार, in our first class I told you we do not have to become book collector, we are here to become district collector. ये हमको सबको याद है अच्छे से. Our objective should be to first set some targets for ourselves. Our objective should be first to see how much of the material can we finish in given amount of time. ये हमारा objective होना चाहिए. चलो, before we begin the class, थोड़ा सा a little bit of ज्ञान. I've given this ज्ञान earlier to you as well, but प्लीज दोबारा से सुनो इस चीज को. काफी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है, हो सकता है कई लोग मिस कर जाते हो. How do you prepare for this examination? This exam, apart from other things, is also about how well you manage your time. You have to know what your objectives are in terms of how much and what do you have to finish. List down whatever is remaining. लिखो. For example, जैसे अगर I hope none of you is giving prelims this year. मैं पहले इस बारे में आपको बताया था, प्लीज prelims मत देना, उसका आंसर आपको कुछ क्वेश्चन से मिल जाता है. How prepared are you about 1 month before prelims for your optional? Anyways, for example, if somebody is giving prelims which is about 1.5 months from now, अभी से 45 days हैं prelims के, you should know what you need to do in these 45 days. For example, you need to know that I have 30 prelims tests which are remaining, some sectional and some full length. 30 prelims tests are remaining. It takes about 4 hours of time to give one test. करीब 1.5 घंटा एग्जाम देने में लगता है और करीब 2.5 घंटे या 3 घंटे उसके सॉल्यूशंस को रिलीजियसली पढ़ने में लगते हैं. So it takes about 4.5 hours to give one test, properly give one test. देने को तो आपकी मर्जी है, आप 45 मिनट में आप सारे 100 क्वेश्चंस कर सकते हो, बट वो टेस्ट देना नहीं होता. So it takes about 4.5 hours to give one test. That way you can give 2 tests per day. Apart from that, there is something that you have to revise. For example, you have to revise polity, you have to revise history from your notes, you have to revise art and culture from your notes, you have to revise geography from GC Leong, you have to revise environment from unit 11-12 of your 12th class biology NCERT. You have to revise economics from whatever notes or something which you have prepared. Then you say monthly current affairs भी करना है, फिर आप बोलोगे PT 365 भी करना है, फिर आप बोलोगे शंकर IAS का एनवायरमेंट मटेरियल भी पढ़ना है, फिर आप बोलोगे कि वाजीराम के पर्टिकुलर नोट्स पढ़ने हैं, फिर आप बोलोगे IAS बाबा की टेस्ट सीरीज करनी है, इनसाइट्स की टेस्ट सीरीज करनी है. तो लिस्ट तो एंडलेस होती चली जाएगी. और अगर ये लिस्ट आपने एंडलेस बना ली, you will end up being an anxious student who will not be able to cover anything. You will always be in tension, you will always be thinking कि मेरा ये बचा है. Rather than focusing on doing things and be content about what you have done, you will always focus on कि मेरा इतना, all these things are remaining. So please make sure that you make a list of what is it that you have to do. First एक list बनाओ proper 1 2 3 4 करके, this is all what I have to do. Then divide your time properly, that this is how it will be done. Stick to that timetable and be happy about it. Stick to what you have written, stick to what you have decided, how will it be completed, and then be happy about it. बोर्ड कट हो रहा है लेफ्ट साइड में, एक सेकेंड प्लीज. ठीक है. लेट मी सी इफ देयर इज एनी इश्यू इन द कैमरा. सो द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग फॉर दिस प्रिपरेशन फॉर दिस एग्जाम इज दैट you have to be sure about what is it that you have to do. Make a timetable, then stick to that timetable. Make a plan, stick to that plan. Please do not ask these questions to anybody. Starting में ये सब चीजें हमको anxious बनाती हैं जब हम प्रिपरेशन कर रहे होते हैं. All these things make us anxious कि मेरा फ्रेंड है, उसने ये वाली बुक भी पढ़ी है, उसने कोई और बुक पढ़ी है. अब वो एक और कोई बुक पढ़ने के बाद योर फ्रेंड इज स्पीकिंग अबाउट सम लाइन, सम इशू, सम इवेंट इन हिस्ट्री विच यू डोंट नो अबाउट. लेट इट बी भाई. हर एक किताब में कोई ना कोई इंपॉर्टेंट चीज, कोई नई इंफॉर्मेशन दी होगी, तभी तो वो किताब अलग से छपी है. नहीं तो पुरानी विपिन चंद्रा की कॉपी करके कोई ना कोई छाप देता. लेट इट बी. डू नॉट गेट योर सेल्फ इन टू दिस हैबिट ऑफ मैंने ये नहीं पढ़ा, वो नहीं पढ़ा, ये छूट गया. I will try to cover almost all the topics in class. However, even if I try to cover all the topics in class, I would still be able to cover hardly about 20-30% of the syllabus. Syllabus as in I'll cover the entire syllabus, but what is asked in the exam, my efforts will take you only 20-30% or 40% there. It is the newspapers which will help you bridge that gap of 30% and being prepared or being reasonably confident in your preparation to about 70-80%. Newspaper पढ़ने से आपको वो gap bridge होगा. I will try to cover almost all parts of the syllabus. Your NCERTs cover big part of your syllabus. Printed material of Vision IAS, that also covers a substantial part of the syllabus. Printed material जो है, because it has been made keeping in view previous year questions, keeping in view whatever is written in the syllabus, therefore it is the most comprehensive source. Most comprehensive source printed material है. लेकिन हाँ, classroom में whatever I am teaching you plus NCERTs, these are also good enough. These are also good enough. Once you do this, then building upon this, your information which you get from newspapers or reading magazines or watching news items, from that you should become reasonably confident कि भैया मेरी प्रिपरेशन हो चुकी है. प्लीज डोंट फील कि मैंने प्रिंटेड मटेरियल नहीं पढ़ा इसलिए मैं पीछे रह गया. प्लीज डोंट फील कि मैंने प्रिंटेड मटेरियल पढ़ लिया है इसीलिए मेरा सब कुछ कवर हो गया है. ठीक है, आई होप यू गेट द पॉइंट. मेक अ लिस्ट, स्टिक टू दैट लिस्ट. चलो क्लास स्टार्ट करते हैं. विल यू केस, प्रॉब्ली यस, आई विल बी टेक, मैं ही लेता हूं केस स्टडीज का बैच और कोई नहीं लेता है, सो आई विल टेक, डोंट वरी. ओके, सो Few questions, I'll answer those questions. लक्ष्य का question है, what is the direct impact of inflation on investment? Is it because of inflation, interest rates tend to increase and therefore investments become costlier? You told in the last class about impact that the investor will have to look on the second leg of investment process and secure greater returns from his investment than rate charged by the banks, but that anyway an investor has to consider while investing. मैं समझ गया question, ठीक है. In slide, there is an impact on workers as well. We know the impact of inflation on workers as wage price spiral, but what is the impact of very low inflation on or even deflation on workers? ठीक है. I'll answer these questions. Recap करते हैं. When I revise the class, let me see अगर कोई और question है तो I'll start with recap after this. मिताली का question, what is meant by asset price inflation? Asset price inflation simply means, as the name suggests, मैंने आपको क्या बताया था? Economics as a subject, if you have good command over English language, your ability to grasp concepts in economics would be greatly enhanced, because concepts are usually very intuitively named, except for a few things बहुत ही intuitively. Asset price inflation, inflation in asset prices. Question is, what is an asset? That is it. That is the question. Asset किस चीज को हम बोलते हैं? Something which you possess and you expect to earn some return on that. I'll repeat. You possess something and you expect to earn some return on that thing. This is called an asset. For example, आपके पास land है. You have land, you have purchased land and you expect to sell it at a later date at a higher price. You expect to earn some return. Asset. Asset price inflation. Prices of assets rise. Immediately assets become costly. So a person who does not possess asset, मान लो मेरे पास आज की तारीख में land नहीं है, if I don't have land and I want to buy land, I don't have property, I want to buy property. For me it becomes costly all of a sudden. The one who possesses it is benefiting, but one who wants to buy it, that person is not able to afford it. उसको बोलते हैं asset price inflation. As simple as that. There was an editorial in which I read, in absence of policy interventions, India will continue on the path of K-shaped recovery, where large corporates with low debt will prosper at the cost of small and medium sectors. This means lower employment as most of the jobs are created by the latter. ये क्वेश्चन आपने किसने पूछा? मिताली. मिताली, मैंने शायद ये क्वेश्चन आपने 2 क्लास पहले पूछा था और मैंने आपको कहा था कि क्लास के एंड में पूछना. I'll answer this question and probably you did not ask this question then. Important for everybody in the class. कृपया करके ध्यान दें, ये मत बोलना कि सर केवल Q&A सेशन चला रहे हैं. Really important question that Mitali has asked. Everybody please pay full attention. Shapes of recovery process. We have not discussed this in detail because this is more of a current affairs topic, shapes of recovery process, but this, because it has been asked, so I'll have to answer this question. Remember जब हमने Keynesian unemployment पढ़ा था, we discussed this. Let's say this is your average GDP growth. This is your average. Everybody please pay attention. पढ़ा रहा हूं मैं, Q&A session नहीं कर रहा हूं. Please pay attention here. Let's say this is your average GDP growth. This is the rate at which your GDP is growing. This is the actual rate of growth. ये आपकी actual rate of growth है. I have drawn a sinusoidal curve which is more or less symmetrical, but it need not be symmetrical. ये average rate है और ये at a particular point of time. You grew at 6%, you grew at 2%. So on an average, you are growing at, let's say, 4%. So this is your actual rate of growth and this straight line is your average rate of growth. ये हमने देखा था. Quite easy. Cyclical unemployment जब हमने देखा था तो. Okay. What happens, for example, when COVID occurred? Sudden shock to the economy. There is a sudden shock to the economy. This was your average growth path. This is how your economy was actually growing. Slowly and steadily it was going on this growth path. And suddenly there is some shock in the economy, for example, in the form of COVID. So suddenly your growth drops like this. Suddenly your growth drops like this. ठीक है? ये average growth है and suddenly your actual growth drops here. Now let's see what happens then. अब you have to recover from this number. You have to recover. You are right now at, let's say, growing at -7% rate of growth. -7% is your rate of growth in last year. So let's say you are here at -7%. Now, your objective is to come back to this level. For example, this is 2020. ध्यान दो, पूरा ध्यान से सब लोग प्लीज. This is 2020 and by 2025, if you are going on this average growth path, by 2025 you expected that this would have been your GDP. आपकी GDP इतनी होती, average rate of growth इतना था. On y axis you have GDP, not growth. On y axis you have GDP, और ये दिखा रहा है rate of change of GDP, that is GDP growth. So by 2025 you would have been here. Expected GDP in 2025 is this. If you proceeded normally, you would have been something like this. तो 2025 में आप almost यहाँ पे होते, इससे थोड़ा सा ऊपर थोड़ा सा नीचे होते, but almost यहाँ पे होते. But now due to COVID, your growth has plummeted immediately. You want to recover and recover so much that you want to reach this level by 2025. 2025 तक आपको यहाँ पे पहुंचना है. You will need high rate of GDP growth because in 1 year your GDP has plummeted. Therefore, in subsequent year you will need high rate of GDP growth. ठीक है, ये सब हमने डिस्कस किया था. इसमें हमने देखा जैसे गवर्नमेंट जो बोल रही है that India is going to witness a V-shaped recovery. V-shaped recovery क्या है? There is a sudden plummeting of growth here, and now जितनी सडननेस से जितनी स्टीपनेस से ग्रोथ प्लमेंटेड, with same steepness it is going to go up, and then it is going to come back to its normal path. It will come back to its normal path like this. So this becomes a V-shaped recovery. ठीक है, अब पूछते हैं K-shaped recovery क्या है. What is this K-shape? V-shape हमने किया था, K-shape हमने नहीं देखा है. That what this K-shaped recovery is. K-shaped recovery क्या है? Your economy is here right now. Everybody please pay attention. Your economy is, I'll use black color. Your economy is here at this moment, and you want your economy to go back to this level. It should go back to this level and then it will come back to this normal, to this average growth level. However, ये तो हमने पूरी इकोनॉमी का एक ग्राफ प्लॉट कर दिया. But if we look at our economy more closely, different types of firms and different types of people, labor force, their capability to go up from this trench would be different. A large firm would be capable enough to go back to this level rather quickly, but a small firm probably is going to close down. अगर हम यहां पे इकोनॉमी को देखें, इकोनॉमी विल कंसिस्ट ऑफ, वी कैन लुक एट इकोनॉमी इन द वे ऑफ बिग फर्म्स एंड स्मॉल फर्म्स. ड्यू टू कोविड, आई होप मेनी ऑफ यू नो, expectedly many small businesses closed, but despite COVID many large businesses flourished. Due to COVID many small businesses had to shut their shop, बंद हो गए कई सारे business, or are finding it very difficult to come back to their normal levels of growth. But डिस्पाइट कोविड, पहले वाले में बोला था ड्यू टू कोविड, और अब बोल रहा हूं डिस्पाइट कोविड, सम फर्म्स वर एबल टू रजिस्टर good numbers as far as their profits are concerned. Some firms were able to grow their business or expand. So for some firms, rate of growth despite COVID was very high. In post-COVID, rate of growth is very high. जैसे हम अगर IT firms को देखें, IT firms have been doing exceptionally well in this COVID and post-COVID world. Pharma firms, ये तो नेचुरल है, सबको मालूम है. Pharma firms have been doing, were doing before COVID. अगर COVID से पहले देखें तो after about 2016-17, pharma firms were going through a big slump. But post-COVID, pharma firms, their growth rates have doubled or tripled as compared to the average growth rate of their previous 3 years. पिछले 3 साल में सन फार्मास्यूटिकल का ग्रोथ देखो और पिछले 1 साल में सन फार्मास्यूटिकल का ग्रोथ देखो. इट इज ग्रोइंग एट अबाउट ट्वाइस द पेस दैट इट वाज ग्रोइंग इन प्रीवियस 3 years. सन फार्मा देखो, ल्यूपिन देखो, सिप्ला देखो, ऑल दीज कंपनीज, देयर रेट ऑफ ग्रोथ पोस्ट कोविड और ड्यूरिंग कोविड हैज इंक्रीज्ड ड्रास्टिकली. So some firms, large firms, they possess the capability to grow at a very high rate, whereas many firms, especially small firms, they are not able to grow. In fact, they collapse. वो नीचे आ जाती है. इस टाइप की रिकवरी को हम बोलते हैं के शेप्ड रिकवरी. ये के शेप बन रही है ना, इसके बाद दिस इज योर करंट. Some firms will go this way and some firms will come this way. So this becomes your K. This is your K-shaped recovery. ये नीचे आए और उसके बाद ये K. This is your K-shaped recovery. Same thing goes for labor force as well. Labor force में the people who are skilled and more importantly who are able to continuously update their skills. Those people will have an advantage when it comes to growth and employment opportunities, whereas those who were already unskilled, those who already were unable to, not in a position to upgrade their skills, मान लो they were in their late 50s and now the incentive motivation for them to upgrade their skills is low, these people will find it difficult to grow in the post-COVID world, will find it difficult to get new job opportunities in the post-COVID world, whereas those who possessed skills which were relevant and who possess the ability to upgrade, ability as well as motivation to upgrade their skills, those people will be able to get these jobs. तो as far as labor is concerned, labor में भी इस तरीके का distinction हम देख सकते हैं. Similarly, firms में भी there is some kind of a distinction between big firms and their ability and small firms and their ability. So this is called K-shaped recovery. I hope this is absolutely clear to everybody कि K-shaped recovery क्या होती है. Lower employment as most of the jobs are created by the latter. So the question that Mitali is asking is this: if there is a K-shaped recovery, then small firms जो हैं which are large in number, these small firms they are going to perish. And these small firms, according to Mitali, where she has read in an editorial, the person who has written the editorial says that small firms are job creators. Small firms job creators हैं. लेकिन ये मिथ हम पहले ही एड्रेस कर चुके हैं. Remember, I told you, Raghuram Rajan का statement verbatim. Small firms are not job creators. It is a myth that small firms create jobs. Only those firms which grow big, they create job. Remember हमने डिस्कशन किया था इस चीज के ऊपर. If you look at India's firm structure, I referred to, if you remember, मैं आपको याद दिलवाऊंगा, I referred to economic survey of 2019. 2019 का economic survey मैंने रेफर किया था, and I said that this discussion is directly from there. If you refer to India's firm structure, there are very less percentage of firms which are big. Big being defined as those which have more than 100 workers. Very less percentage of firms, less than 10% of total number of firms. अगर 100 firm है इंडिया के अंदर, तो 100 में से केवल 10 ऐसी firm है. There are only 10 firms which have more than 100 workers. Number of firms which have more than 100 workers, that is very less as the proportion to total number of firms. बट इफ वी लुक एट एम्प्लॉयमेंट, कि एम्प्लॉयमेंट कहां पे है, ये जो बड़ी फर्म्स है, बहुत छोटी मात्रा में जो बड़ी फर्म्स हैं, दीज 10% फर्म्स विच आर बिग, दीज 10% फर्म्स आर एम्प्लॉइंग अबाउट 60% ऑफ टोटल लेबर फोर्स. मिलियंस ऑफ small and micro firms, they employ only about 40% of country's labor force, whereas very small number of, only a handful number of 1000-2000 firms हैं, उन सबका 1000 firms का अगर हम पूरा employment calculate करें, so they are employing about 60% of people. So these firms are already not job providers. These firms are job providers. Having said that, अगर ये firms fail होती हैं, no doubt, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है, no doubt that there is going to be there is an employment crisis. Our unemployment numbers for this year, it estimated around 8%. For last year, it is estimated at around 8%. So undoubtedly, yes, there is an unemployment crisis. And why? Because many of these small firms, they have failed. They have perished in this crisis. So undoubtedly, yes, you are absolutely right. But as far as The idea that small firm is the job creator, that idea is wrong. So तीन चीजें हमने देखी हैं, बाकी सब लोगों को भी समझ में आना चाहिए. We have seen what K-shaped recovery means. We have seen that we can differentiate between ability of the firm to grow and inability of the firm to bounce back from this crisis. Then we saw that no, small firms are not job creators as is commonly believed. Job creators are big firms. Big firms are job creators, job generators, employers are big firms. छोटी firm employers नहीं हैं. On an average देखा था ना, हमने याद है, डिस्कस किया था, 7.5 crores, लगभग 77 millions, 7.7 crores is the total number of MSMEs in the country which employ about 15 crore people. On an average per firm only 2 people, केवल 2 लोग हैं per firm. So they are not job creators. But again, many are providing self-employment, and if these firms fail, therefore many people would lose their livelihood opportunity. We have discussed in CPI, next is Shantanu's question. We have discussed in CPI that services are included in CPI, but in material says that there is no index so far which can measure price changes in service sector. अरे CPI में services price index नहीं है हमारे पास शांतनु जी. We don't have a index which measures only services. We have CPI which consists of goods as well as services. We don't have any service price index in which the basket of items will consist only of services. सुषमा, inflation spiral and deflation I'll explain, बताता हूं. चलो, ad valorem taxes. अरे ad valorem taxes बहुत बाद में देखेंगे यार, हम चिंता मत करो. ad valorem tax अभी नहीं देखेंगे. ad valorem tax, ad valorem the word means according to value. That is what ad valorem is. इस पेन के ऊपर टैक्स, इस पेन की कीमत है 100 रुपए और इसके ऊपर टैक्स लगा है 10%. 10% of what? 10% of its value. That is ad valorem. इस टी शर्ट की कीमत है 500 रुपए, इसके ऊपर टैक्स लगा है 50 रुपए. 10%. 10% of what? Its value. ad valorem. ठीक है, ये टैक्सेशन में देखेंगे हम ad valorem टैक्स क्या होते हैं, स्पेसिफिक टैक्स क्या होता है. चलो, let's recap quickly what we did in the last class. क्या मनु ने क्या बोला है? Sir, according to 2018 data, 81% of labor force are in informal sector. Can informal sector not be large? It can be large. Moreover, we discussed informal is the nature of job. In big companies can, भाई अगर हम मारुति सुजुकी की बात कर रहे हैं तो आप कंफ्यूज हो गए ना. मारुति सुजुकी का एग्जांपल दिया था in which now most of the employees are not on Maruti's payroll, rather they are contractual employees. Many are informal employees. तो मारुति सुजुकी इतनी बड़ी कंपनी, biggest of the biggest companies, still many of the people there are informally or contractually employed. तो इन दोनों चीजों को कंफ्यूज मत करो कृपया करके. Big firm is employment generator. Doesn't mean all the employment of big firm will be of formal nature. It will be largely it is of formal, informal और contractual nature. ठीक है, चलो अच्छा हुआ आपने पूछा, बाकी लोगों का भी डाउट सॉल्व हुआ होगा. चलो, let's go back. Let's quickly recap what we discussed last time. We were discussing effects of inflation. In effects of inflation, we discussed that we are going to discuss effects on specific sector or specific type of people. First, we discussed the effect of inflation on consumer and producer. Obviously, consumer में बताने की जरूरत नहीं है. Consumers, inflation makes goods unaffordable for the consumers. For producers, if you remember clearly, for producers, inflation gives an incentive to produce more. Things are costly, producers are incentivized to produce more. And then we also discussed this idea of that sweet spot, that inflation should be low and steady. A steady and a low rate of inflation continues to provide incentive to the producer, number one, and at the same time the price rise is such that it is affordable and acceptable for the consumer. Price rise हो तो producer को फायदा है, और प्राइस राइज अगर अफोर्डेबल एंड एक्सेप्टेबल टू कंज्यूमर हो तो प्रोड्यूसर को नुकसान नहीं होगा. सो वी डिस्कस दिस कॉन्सेप्ट. Then we discuss the concept of, then we discuss the effect of inflation on borrowers and lenders, in which we discuss the concept of real interest rate and present and future value of money. याद है आपको, present and future value of money. Because of inflation, money loses its value. Remember, 100 रुपए मेरी जेब में जो आज हैं, अगर कल भी मेरी जेब में 100 रुपए होंगे तो उन 100 रुपए की वैल्यू, the 100 rupees which I possess tomorrow, those 100 rupees versus 100 rupees that I possess today, they are different in value. Why? Because with 100 rupees today I can buy 2 kgs of sugar, but with 100 rupees tomorrow I will be able to buy only 1.5 kg of sugar. So money loses its value because of inflation. We discussed the concept of real interest rate. Real interest rate was nominal interest rate minus rate of inflation. So if I am the lender, you are the borrower. I have lent money to you at the rate of 10%. This 10% is the nominal interest rate. And rate of inflation is 5%. 5% rate of inflation hai. Then when you return money back to me, my real return, real terms में मैं कितना पैसा कमाऊंगा? Nominal terms में you will pay me 10% back, but 10% plus the principal obviously. Nominal terms में you will pay me 10% return on my on the money that I lent to you. But in real terms, the value the money which I lent to you will have gotten eroded due to inflation. तो जो erosion हुआ है वो कितना हुआ है? That is 5%. Therefore, in real terms, what is my effective return? In real terms, I have earned only 5%. 10% which you have given me minus 5% which inflation has taken away. So this is the real return which I earned. Then we discussed the effect of inflation on savers. Savers पे कैसे effect करती है? People who save, savings के ऊपर क्या effect होता है? We discussed that savers save their money in bank accounts. And in bank accounts, the interest that you get is usually very low. At the same time, the interest that you get in bank accounts is usually non-negotiable. Bank will pay you an interest rate and you cannot negotiate with the bank कि इतना interest rate मुझको दो. So, savers usually lose out when there is inflation. अगर inflation, जब मैंने बैंक में पैसा जमा किया, inflation was only 2%. And bank was giving me 4% interest. So in real terms, I am earning 2%. 4% bank is giving me and 2% inflation is eating away. So in real terms, I am being better off. I am earning 2%. लेकिन बैंक मेरे को 4% ही देता रहेगा. मैंने एक बार बैंक में पैसा जमा करा लिया, अब जिंदगी भर तक मुझे 4% इंटरेस्ट. For my lifetime, I will get 4% interest rate. But if on a later date inflation increases from 2% to 6%, then in that case what will be my actual return? Now bank will give me 4% and inflation will eat away 6%. So I am still poorer by 2%. I am still losing 2% on the money which I have put in the bank. So savers will lose out. Savers lose out when there is inflation. Effect on savings. Next, we discussed effect on investments. बहुत ही important effect, investments. Investment में हमने क्या discuss किया? Investment को we can break down into 2 parts or 2 legs. One is investment which consists of borrowing from the bank, and second is actually investing that borrowed money to earn some return. 2 पार्ट में ब्रेक किया था हमने इन्वेस्टमेंट को, अगर आप लोगों को याद हो तो. वन इज, अगर मेरे को इन्वेस्टमेंट करना है, if I have to invest, I will number 1 borrow money from the bank and number 2 I will invest that money somewhere so that I can generate some return. अगर हम केवल फर्स्ट पार्ट को देखें, if we look at only the first part, in that case if I borrow money from the bank and there is inflation, it is simply a relationship between a lender and a borrower. Bank is the lender, I am the borrower. So if there is inflation, I will usually be benefited. Borrower benefit होता है क्योंकि borrower को lender is getting less money back, borrower has to pay back on. Borrower को 100 rupees आपने lend किए थे तो आपको past वाले 100 rupees पे वापस करना है, present वाले value पे वापस नहीं करना है. So inflation देख चुके हैं, effect on borrowers and lenders. So in this case, I am the borrower. अगर मैं investor हूं, I have borrowed money from the bank. Bank is the lender. I will be better off if there is inflation. Bank will be worse off if there is inflation. लेकिन बैंक चालाक है, बैंक इज वाइज. बैंक when it is taking deposits from the savers, in that case bank offers them low rate of interest. That rate of interest is non-negotiable by the bank, between you and the bank. But when bank gives you the money, जब बैंक आपको money lend करता है, when bank lends money to you, in that case bank charges a higher rate of interest, number one. And secondly, many times what bank will do is bank will shield the interest rate from inflation. डिस्कस किया था हमने. बैंक आपको जब लोन देगा तो बैंक आपको बोलेगा यू गिव मी इन्फ्लेशन प्लस 3%. जितनी भी रेट की इन्फ्लेशन है उससे 3% आप देना हमको. Inflation is 6%, you will pay to the bank 9%. Inflation is 2%, you will pay to the bank 5%. So in real terms, bank is not better off, not worse off. In real terms, you are not better off, not worse off. Why? क्योंकि अब interest rate में inflation inbuilt है. Bank is charging from you an interest rate equal to inflation plus 2%. Therefore, the real interest rate bank charge कर रहा है, it is fixed at 2%. So now your investment decision, that is the first part to borrow, is unaffected by inflation. Inflation से unaffected है first part. Now your decision to invest is dependent upon second part, which is always the case. Investment decision is always dependent upon, I'll repeat, investment decision is always dependent upon how much can the investor earn from the investment. Listen very, very carefully. Investment decision is always dependent upon how much can the investor earn from the investment. I believe, example दिया था मैंने आपको last time, विजय माल्या का, जेट एयरवेज का, याद करो. Vijay Mallya believed that there is going to be a boom in middle class households in the country. Those who have not experienced air travel before, air travel is going to become affordable for them in no time. Vijay Mallya expected this कि एकदम से air flyers की संख्या बढ़ जाएगी. As a result, Vijay Mallya invested money in buying new aircrafts, in buying new rights, in investing in some building of some airports, so on and so forth. So Vijay Mallya invested despite cost of investment being high, despite interest rate that he was paying to banks being high. Bank उसको interest दे रहा है, bank is giving money to Vijay Mallya at the rate of 10%, 11% interest rate. But Vijay Mallya is still borrowing from the bank because he believes that Indian economy is going to go through a good phase and people are going to travel in aircrafts more frequently. Therefore, he expects कि 10% मेरे को अगर बैंक को लोन भी देना है, I will earn on my investment at least 25-30%. तो उसमें से 10% बैंक को दे देंगे. So still, I would be richer by 15%. In real terms, I'll not use the word real here, but for Vijay Mallya, I will generate 25% return from my investment and I have to pay 10% to the bank. I am richer by 15%. My actual return is 15%. 25% मैंने अपनी बिजनेस पे कमाया है, उसमें से 10% मेरी इंटरेस्ट कॉस्ट है, वो मैंने बैंक को दे दी. Expectation. He has an expectation about future that how will his investment behave? Will he be able to generate money from his investment or not? This is what his expectation is. So investment is more or less dependent upon expectation. A businessman will not be too much bothered. Listen very carefully. I have used the word not too much bothered. I have not says is not bothered. I've used the word is not too much bothered about the interest which the bank is charging from me. Now, obviously I am bothered. Obviously I am bothered about it. Will I not be happy कि बैंक मेरे से केवल 5% interest rate ले? I have got two options that bank charges 5% interest from me versus bank charges 10% interest from me. बैंक ने मुझे पैसा दिया है 5% पे या 10% पे. In which scenario will I be happy? Obviously, I will be happy when bank is charging only 5% from me. But my decision to invest is not solely dependent upon how much interest bank is charging. बैंक मेरे से 5% चार्ज कर रहा है, 6 कर रहा है, 10 कर रहा है. my decision to invest is not solely dependent upon this interest rate. It is also, and in fact, it is largely dependent upon how much do I expect to earn. अगर मैंने 10% पे भी लोन लिया है and I am earning 20% on my investment, I will be happy. If I have taken loan at 5% but my investment is going waste, I will still be unhappy. अगर मेरे को फ्री में भी कोई पैसा दे रहा है ये इस कंडीशन पे कि बस आपको मुझे लौटाना है, लेकिन ऐसे बिजनेस में लगाओ जिस बिजनेस का कोई स्कोप ही नहीं है, क्या मैं उस बिजनेस, will I put my money in that business? I'll repeat the same thing in English. If somebody is giving money to me free of cost without any interest, simply on this condition that you have to return only the money which I have given. I have given you 100 rupees, please return me 100 rupees. No interest. But you have to invest this 100 rupees in a particular business in which there is absolutely no return, zero return है. Failing business में लगाना है. Will I put my money? No, obviously no. So interest rate is not a very important factor. It is an important factor, no doubt about it, but not the only factor, not the most important factor. It is an important factor, but not the most important factor. And that is why I said investment decisions are usually dependent upon the second leg of investment. Second leg क्या है? Second leg क्या है? Expected rate of return. Is this clear or not? Expected rate of return. Naturally, as a businessman, I will be happy if I get money at lower rate of interest. I'll repeat, कोई confusion मत रखना please दिमाग में. Naturally, as a businessman, I will be extremely happy if I get money at as low interest rate as possible. But at the same time, my investment decision will not solely be dependent upon how much interest the bank is charging from me. It will also be dependent upon how much I expect to earn in future. I hope it should be clear to everybody. At the same time, एक चीज और बोलूंगा यहाँ पे, before I conclude with this part, I'll speak one more thing. I'll tell you one more thing. At the same time, the number of people who expect that their business or their investment would be profitable for them. Listen very, very carefully. The number of people who expect that their business or their investment would be profitable for them would be inversely proportional to interest rate or not. Listen very carefully now. Please pay full attention. आसान चीज है, केवल आपकी attention की आवश्यकता है. Easy thing. Let's say I'm a businessman and bank is offering me loan at 15% rate of interest. बैंक ने बोला 15% पे आपको देंगे. Now I expect that in my business I can earn 30% interest. 30% return मैं कमा सकता हूं, 20% return कमा सकता हूं. I expect that in my business I will be able to generate 20% interest. So for me, even if I borrow money from bank at 15%, if I expect to earn 20-25%, I'll still be profitable. लेकिन ऐसे कितने बिजनेस होंगे जो कि 20-25% रिटर्न जनरेट करेंगे? ऐसे कितने बिजनेस होंगे जो कि 15% रिटर्न जनरेट करेंगे? How many businesses would be of such nature which will be able to generate 10% return? How many businesses would be of such nature which will be able to generate 5% return? How many businesses would be of such nature that are able to generate at least 2 or 3% return? Obviously, businesses which give 30% return would be very less in number. Businesses which give 20% return would be little bit more than those who give 30% return. Businesses which give 15% return would be even more than businesses which give 20% return. Businesses which give 10% return would be even more which give 15% return as compared to which give 20% return. तो return ज्यादा कमाना difficult है. It is difficult to earn more return. Easy to earn less return. If bank is giving loan to businesses at the rate of 15% versus bank is giving loan to businesses at the rate of 10%, दो सिनेरियो हैं. बैंक बिजनेस को इंटरेस्ट दे रहा है 15% पे एंड बैंक बिजनेस को इंटरेस्ट दे रहा है, बैंक इज गिविंग इंटरेस्ट टू बिजनेस एट गिविंग लोन टू बिजनेस एट द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ 10%. Loan to business at the interest 15, loan to business at the interest 10. Scenario A 15%, scenario B 10%. In which of these scenarios will more number of businesses approach the bank for loan? Obviously in scenario B, when bank is offering interest rate of only 10%, in that case more businesses will approach bank for investing, for borrowing, as compared to when bank offers interest of 15%, तब कम businesses approach करेंगे बैंक को. ये बात समझ में आई? बेसिक चीज है, बिल्कुल बिल्कुल बेसिक चीज है. If interest rate that the bank is charging is more, then less number of people would be interested to borrow from the bank. If interest rate that the bank is charging is less, then more number of people would be interested to borrow from the bank. If inflation is high, final thing, अगर इन्फ्लेशन ज्यादा है, इफ इन्फ्लेशन इज हाई, देन इंटरेस्ट रेट दैट द बैंक विल बी चार्जिंग फ्रॉम बिजनेसेस विल बी हाई और नॉट. If inflation is high, bank will charge a higher interest rate. If inflation is low, bank will charge a lower interest rate, or bank will be tempted, may be tempted to charge a lower interest rate. When inflation is high, bank will be tempted to charge higher interest rate. When inflation is low, bank will be tempted to charge lower interest rate. When bank is charging higher interest rate, then investments would be low. When bank is charging lower interest rate, investments would be higher. Why is bank charging higher interest rate? Because inflation is higher. Why is bank charging lower interest rate? Because inflation is lower. Therefore, low inflation is usually accompanied with higher investment, and high inflation is usually accompanied with low investment. Likho, write down. Give heading effect of, अच्छा प्लीज somebody, I see, एक सेकेंड रुको, सब लोग मत बताना. लास्ट है शुभम कुमार शर्मा का है, और उससे पहले मैं पढ़ रहा हूं शांतनु. केवल 2 लोग बताना प्लीज, ओनली 2 people, प्लीज डोंट, नॉट एवरीबडी, आई डोंट वांट आंसर फ्रॉम एवरीबडी, जस्ट 2 people टेल मी हाउ मच हैव वी रिटन in this effects on inflation. How much have we written in effects of inflation? Please tell me कितना हमने लिखा था. I am waiting for your response. Please tell me how much have we written in effects of inflation. Based, dependent upon that, then I will dictate to you. ठीक है? First 2 points. Okay, we have written till borrowers and lenders. We have written real interest rate हमने लिखा था. This has to start. Savings and investment has to. That is what my thinking was. That is what. Okay, yes. Please write down. लिखो. Thank you so much. Please write down. Give heading effect on savings and investments. Write down effect on savings and investments. Great. Write down. Inflation eats into savings. Inflation eats into savings. Full stop. The interest rate, ठीक है, I got it. Please write down. The interest rate that the savers get from the bank. The interest rate that the savers get from the bank is usually low. And therefore, when inflation increases, their savings get eroded. Full stop. Next paragraph, write down effect on investment. Please mark 3 stars on this effect on investment. Please mark 3 stars on this effect on investment. We have done some concepts which we were to study in monetary policy, because I think it makes sense to study these concepts here. We have done these concepts. कुछ concepts जो हमें monetary policy में देखने थे वो हमने यहाँ पे ही देखे हैं. Please mark 3 stars here. लिखो, inflation and investments are linked via interest rates. Full stop. नेक्स्ट पैराग्राफ में लिखना, नेक्स्ट लाइन में लिखना, नेक्स्ट लाइन में लिखो इन्वेस्टमेंट्स comprise of two decisions. Investment comprise of two decisions, comma, one to borrow money from the bank. To borrow money, one is to borrow money, comma, second to invest that money. To borrow money and to invest that money. Full stop. To invest or not, full stop के बाद, to invest or not is dependent upon, what is the future expectation of investor. To invest or not depends upon what is the future expectation of investor. Full stop. This is a behavioral variable. This is a behavioral decision. And mostly depends upon, this is a behavioral decision and mostly depends upon the future prospects of the economy. Full stop. Suno, 1 second, please listen. I would expect that you people appreciate the usage of the term behavioral here. Behavioral economics, when we studied in our first 2 boring classes about evolution of economics thought, in that I explained to you behavioral aspect. Even after that, some students had asked me to give more examples about behavioral. Behavioral word समझो यहाँ पे, please appreciate this word behavioral and understand it. Kingfisher Airlines will invest, but Indigo Airlines will not invest, or Go Air will not invest. Same sector, same country, same economy, but one person thinks that investment is a good idea. Another person thinks investment is not such a good idea. उनके पास, दोनों के पास कुछ different information नहीं है. Maybe there is some different information, some insider information, but both of them usually have similar information, and still both of them are reaching to different conclusion. Behavioral, this is behavior. I hope you understand it कि behavior क्या है. So investment is mostly a behavioral decision. ठीक है, full stop. आगे लिखो, please write down. आगे लिखो. Still, comma, it can be said that at higher interest rates, less number of businesses would expect to be profitable. At higher interest rates, less number of businesses would expect to be profitable in their investment. In their investment. Full stop. Therefore, if the interest rates are high, comma, investments would be usually less. If interest rates are high, investments would be usually less, and vice versa. Full stop. Next paragraph, देखो, interest rates would be high when inflation is high. Interest rates would be high when inflation is high, because the banks will charge a higher interest rate, in order to shield themselves from inflation. Full stop. Hence, when inflation is high, comma, interest rates are expected to be high. Hence, when inflation is high, comma, interest rates are expected to be high, and thus investments would usually be low. And vice versa. ठीक है? Please read this. I'll wait for 15 seconds. 15 seconds तक wait करता हूँ. Please read this. I sincerely hope it should be absolutely clear to everybody, but still I'll wait. Are linked via investments. Inflation is linked to investment via interest rate. था. वोडनाला सही थी. ठीक है, चलो मनु, आपका क्वेश्चन मैं थोड़ी देर में आंसर करता हूं. इट्स इजी, आई विल आंसर, बट अभी थोड़ा फ्लो बना हुआ है. आई विल आंसर योर क्वेश्चन. आई हैव सीन योर क्वेश्चन, डोंट वरी, आई विल आंसर इट. चलो, नेक्स्ट, इफेक्ट ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन ऑन गवर्नमेंट एंड टैक्स पेयर एंड टैक्स कलेक्टर. थर्ड इफेक्ट. Here we are going to study the concept of fiscal drag. Really interesting, a little bit confusing. Fiscal drag word थोड़ा सा अजीब है. Fiscal drag word अजीब है. अगर हम word पे focus ना करें, if you don't focus on the word, then this concept is easy. Just remember in your mind that okay, this is fiscal drag. As I said ना, अभी थोड़ी देर पहले भी बोला था that command over English language gives you a really good edge in economics most of the times, but there are some terms, certain terms in which थोड़ा सा confusion हो जाता है, which are not so intuitive. Fiscal drag is one of those terms. Fiscal drag. So let me explain what fiscal drag is. Through this concept of fiscal drag, we will be able to understand. Please listen, everybody. Through this concept of fiscal drag, we will be able to understand the effect of inflation on taxpayer and tax collector. I hope you get it. Taxpayer is also the consumer. Some taxpayer is also the producer. लेकिन अब यहाँ पे हम taxpayer के perspective से बात करें. So here, what is our focus? Focus is tax. हम यहाँ पे अब tax के domain में आके बात कर रहे हैं. So let's see what is the effect of inflation with the help of the concept of fiscal drag. Fiscal drag क्या है? What is this fiscal drag? We'll be able to understand once वी आर डन विद दिस एंटायर कॉन्सेप्ट, क्योंकि एकदम लास्ट में वो ड्रैग वाला कॉन्सेप्ट आता है, एकदम लास्ट में एंड में जाके वो ड्रैग वाला कॉन्सेप्ट आएगा. इसीलिए फॉर द मोमेंट लेट्स नॉट फोकस ऑन दिस वर्ड फिस्कल ड्रैग. लेट्स नॉट वेस्ट आवर एनर्जी टू अंडरस्टैंड ओके दिस इज फिस्कल, दिस इज ड्रैग. लेट्स नॉट वेस्ट आवर एनर्जी. लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड इट फ्रॉम द बिगिनिंग एंड इन द एंड दिस विल कम. ओके ओके दिस इज द ड्रैग. लेट्स सी क्या है फिस्कल ड्रैग. वी नो व्हाट इज प्राइस वेज स्पाइरल. ये हमें पता है क्या है प्राइस वेज स्पाइरल क्या है. लक्ष्य आपके क्वेश्चन का आंसर प्राइस वेज स्पाइरल. Price increases leads to increase in wage, which leads to increase in price, leads to increase in wage, price, wage, price, wage. When price increases, workers will negotiate for a higher wage. When wages increases, naturally the producer will increase the price. Again, price increases, workers will negotiate for a higher wage, and so on and so forth. This price wage spiral keeps on going on. अभी अगर प्राइस वेज स्पाइरल, हमने नाम तो दे दिया इसको स्पाइरल. If it keeps on going on up till infinity, that means prices will rise up to infinity and wages will also rise up to infinity. Then what? There has to be some breakdown of this mechanism somewhere. कहीं ना कहीं पे कुछ breakdown होगा इस mechanism का. Let's see how does this breakdown happen. Once we understand this breakdown is actually the concept of fiscal drag. ये जो breakdown है ना price wage spiral का, this is actually the concept of fiscal drag. Let's see. Interesting, easy, but a little bit lengthy. Let's understand. Price wage spiral. See, let's say wage of a person is 9 lakh rupees. Wage of a person is 9 lakh rupees. Inflation is 10%. Inflation 10% है. And therefore I negotiate 9 लाख की जगह 10 लाख मान लेते हैं, कैलकुलेशंस आसान हो जाएंगी. 10 lakhs is a little bit for me, calculations would be easy ना, that's why 10 lakh. 10 लाख रुपए मान लेते हैं. Inflation is 10%, and therefore new wage is equals to, inflation is 10%. I have asked for a 10% wage increase. I can ask for even more than that, 10%, but let us assume dearness allowance जो मिल रहा है, that is inflation, that is equal to inflation. So at 10 lakh rupees, my wage increased by 10%. Therefore my new wage becomes 11 lakh rupees. 11 lakh rupees. This is my new wage. ठीक है, 10 लाख रुपए मेरी वेज थी. Because there is an inflation of 10%, I ask for a wage hike, and here therefore my wage hike, after hike my wage becomes 11 lakh rupees. We are studying effect of inflation in the context of taxes. So obviously we'll have to introduce the concept of tax here. Taxes. Here we are dealing simply with income tax. And we have to know one property of income tax. Property of income tax in India and in many other countries as well, is that income tax is progressive in nature. Progressive in nature. देखो मैंने क्या बोला है, concept of fiscal drag, that is effect of taxation of inflation on taxpayers and tax collectors. This is an easy concept. Interesting concept, but in order to understand it is a little bit lengthy process. Lengthy process है मतलब there would be some concepts that would come in between. None of the concepts is difficult, all of the concepts are easy, and it would be very easy to link them together. But because relationship what we are studying is not direct कि x बराबर y, हमें x बराबर z बराबर a बराबर y करना है, so there is a lengthy process, so please you will have to pay attention here. Price wage spiral. Now we are talking about taxes, and I said that there is a property of taxes in our country as well as in many other countries as well, that income taxes are progressive in nature. What is meant by this term progressive? Progressive tax. Progressive taxes. We'll discuss what progressive taxes are in our classes on taxation. लेकिन यहां पे मैं आपको बताऊंगा क्या है progressive tax. Progressive tax is simply this. आप लोगों को पता तो होगा ही, इनकम टैक्स 10th क्लास में तो सभी ने मैथ्स का पेपर दिया है. इनकम टैक्स स्लैब्स दिए होते थे. हाउ वाज इनकम टैक्स कैलकुलेटेड? आई जस्ट अ क्विक रिवीजन हियर. इफ योर इनकम इज अप टू 5 lakhs, you pay 0 पर अप टू 2.5 lakhs. ओल्ड टैक्सेशन रिजिम में जा रहा हूं. If your income is between 0 to 2.5 lakh, you pay 0% of your income as tax. If it is between 2.5 to 5 lakh, you pay 10% tax. If it is between 5 lakh and 10 lakh, you pay 20% tax. If it is 10 lakh above, you pay 30% tax. If it is 50 lakhs above, there is a cess. If it is 1 crore above, there is plus one more cess. तो ऐसे है. अब देखो क्या है इंपॉर्टेंट चीज. इतनी जो इनकम है इन दी फर्स्ट ब्रैकेट 0 to 2.5 lakh, यू आर पेइंग 0% टैक्स. दैट इज ऑन दिस मच इनकम यू पे 0 टैक्स. ऑन दिस मच इनकम यू पे 10% टैक्स. ऑन दिस नेक्स्ट 5 to 10 lakh यू आर पेइंग 20% टैक्स. मतलब क्या हुआ? द रेट ऑफ टैक्स ऑन लोअर इनकम इज लो. रेट ऑफ टैक्स ऑन हायर इनकम इज हाई. जो ज्यादा कमा रहा है, अ पर्सन हु इज अर्निंग मोर इज नॉट जस्ट पेइंग मोर अमाउंट ऑफ टैक्स, इज ऑल्सो पेइंग मोर proportion of his income as tax. This person is paying more proportion of his income as tax. This person is paying even more proportion of his income as tax. This nature of taxation is called progressive. प्रोग्रेसिव बोलते हैं हम इस नेचर ऑफ टैक्सेशन को. प्रोग्रेसिव टैक्स मतलब क्या? When a person who is in the higher tax bracket, a person who earns more, that person not just pays higher amount of tax but also pays higher proportion of his income as tax. मान लेते हैं अगर इनकम टैक्स फ्लैट होता, we call it proportional rate of tax. If income tax was flat, that is everybody has to pay 20% of their income as tax. You are earning 1 crore rupees, you will also pay 20% of your income as tax. I am earning 1 lakh rupees, I will also pay 20% of my income as tax. Everybody is paying same proportion. I'll pay 20,000 rupees, you'll pay 20 lakh rupees. Amount of tax that you pay is more as compared to me, but the proportion of your income that you pay as tax is equal to proportion of my income that I pay as tax. This is proportional. प्रोग्रेसिव क्या है कि जब आप मेरे से ना केवल टैक्स ज्यादा दे रहे हो बट ज्यादा प्रोपोर्शन ऑफ योर इनकम टैक्स दे रहे हो. यू आर पेइंग नॉट जस्ट मोर अमाउंट ऑफ टैक्स बट यू आर पेइंग मोर प्रोपोर्शन ऑफ योर इनकम एज टैक्स. तो मान लेते हैं इफ समबडीज इनकम इज 13 लाख रुपीज, किसी की इनकम 13 लाख रुपए, somebody's income is 13 lakh rupees. In that case, how will tax be calculated quickly? पहले 2.5 लाख इनकम पे he'll be paying 0 tax. Next 2.5 लाख इनकम पे he'll be paying 10% tax, that is 25,000 rupees. Next 5 lakh इनकम पे he'll be paying 20% tax. 5 लाख का 20% कितना हुआ? 1 लाख रुपीज. नेक्स्ट कितना बचा? 10 लाख तक पहुंच गए. 13 लाख इज इनकम, 3 lakhs बचा है. 10 lakh to 3 lakh. On the last 3 lakhs, tax is 30%, so he'll be paying 90,000 rupees here. 90,000 on this last amount. So the total amount of tax that this person will be paying, who is earning 13 lakh rupees of income, would be 25,000 plus 1 lakh plus 90,000. कितना हुआ? 2,15,000 रुपीज. 2,15,000 रुपए टैक्स में देना पड़ेगा अगर आप 13 लाख रुपीज आपकी इनकम है. दिस इज हाउ टैक्स इज कैलकुलेटेड. दिस सिस्टम ऑफ टैक्सेशन इज कॉल्ड प्रोग्रेसिव टैक्सेशन. इसको बोलते हैं प्रोग्रेसिव टैक्सेशन. ठीक है, प्रोग्रेसिव टैक्सेशन क्या है समझ में आ गया? बिकॉज वी हैव नॉट डन प्रोग्रेसिव टैक्सेशन अर्लियर, देयरफॉर I had to explain this. Now that we know what progressive taxation is, now let's come back to our original problem of fiscal drag, price wage spiral. This person was earning 10 lakh rupees earlier. When this person was paying 10 lakh, जब 10 लाख रुपए पे कर रहा था, let me adjust it a little bit here. सबको बिठाओ. Everybody please pay attention. Taxes. When this person was earning 10 lakhs, 10 लाख रुपए जब ये पर्सन कमा रहा था, how much tax was he paying? He was paying tax up to here. 10 लाख रुपए इनकम है. He'll pay 0% on first 2.5 lakh, 10% on next 2.5 lakh and 20% on next 5 lakhs. So वो इतना टैक्स पे करेगा. जब 10 लाख रुपीज इनकम थी, he was paying 1,25,000 rupees as tax. 1.25 lakhs was his taxes. Disposable income कितनी हुई? Disposable income मतलब क्या? Income minus taxes. How much do you earn minus how much do you pay to the government as tax? 10 lakhs minus 1.25 lakhs. कितना बचा? 8.75 lakh. 8.75 lakh is the amount of disposable income that you have. ठीक है? I hope nobody should have any issue. Next, you negotiated for a wage rate increase due to inflation and now your wage is 11 lakh rupees. अब आपकी wage 11 लाख रुपए है. How much tax would you be paying on first 10 lakh? पहले 10 लाख पे तो आप 1 लाख ही पे कर, आप exactly इतना amount पे करोगे. On first 10 lakhs, you'll be paying 1,25,000 and on last 1 lakh, increment जो हुआ है 1 लाख का जो increment हुआ है, on this last 1 lakh rupees, how much tax are you paying? You are paying 30% tax on this. So 1 lakh का 30% कितना हुआ? 30,000 rupees. How much tax are you paying now? 1.25 lakhs plus 30,000, 30,000 रुपए extra, which is equals to 1.55 lakhs. This is the amount of tax that you are paying. 1.25 plus 30,000 on the extra 1 lakh. आपको 1 लाख रुपए एक्स्ट्रा तनख्वाह मिली ना? On this extra 1 lakh, you are paying 30,000 rupees of tax. Hence, the total tax that you are paying is 1.55 lakh. What is your disposable income now? Disposable income कितनी है? 11 lakhs minus 1.55 lakhs. 11 lakh actual income है, the income take home income minus 1.55 lakh is the amount of tax that you are paying. कितना बचा? 9.45 lakhs. 9.45 lakhs is the amount of disposable income that you earn now. फटाफट, जिन लोगों का ध्यान नहीं था या जिन लोगों ने मन में सोच लिया है कि जहां पे मैथ्स आ जाएगी, हल्की सी भी नंबर्स दिखने लगेंगे, वहां पे हमारा दिमाग बंद हो जाएगा. I would want you to please make efforts. कल वाली क्लास, अच्छा कल आपके बैच में क्लास नहीं थी, सॉरी. Same thing, I'll repeat which I said in yesterday's class as well, not in this batch but in some other batch. If you are an engineer, you think that if I look at polity, if I look at civics जो हमारी बचपन में हम पढ़ते थे, my brain gets faded out. I am not able to read fundamental rights, fundamental duties, directive principles. I'm not able to understand history. Similarly, somebody who is, let's say, history majors will say, I'm very poor in maths. I'm not a maths guy or I'm not a maths person. Therefore, whenever there is something mathematical, my brain gets automatically switched off. अगर इस attitude से इस exam में उतरोगे, तो it will be very difficult for you to make through this exam. You cannot enter into this exam with the attitude that I am not comfortable in some subject. Everybody is uncomfortable in one or the other subject. Everybody. You cannot enter into this exam with this attitude. This is 10th class level, just numbers I have written. I don't want anybody of you complaining to yourself कि भाई जो है सर ने क्या पढ़ा दिया, ये मेरे को कुछ समझ में नहीं आया. Simply I have told you this is our tax slab, income tax. अगर टैक्स कैलकुलेट करना नहीं आता तो जिंदगी में टैक्स ही देते रह जाओ कि सरकार को वापस कुछ रिबेट नहीं मिल पाएगी. समझो इस चीज को. This is our progressive taxation system, meaning that when your income increases, if you enter a higher tax bracket, a higher tax slab, not just you pay more amount of tax, but you pay more proportion of your income as tax. I have taken two scenarios here. When this person's wages were earlier 10 lakh rupees, the tax that this person was paying was 1.25 lakh rupees. This is how we calculated 1.25 lakh rupees a person tax pay kara tha. Therefore, the disposable income of this person was 10 minus 1.25, which is 8.75 lakh rupees. Next, Because of inflation, which was at the rate of 10%, this person negotiated for a wage hike. 10% wage hike इस person ने negotiate करी, and as a result he got some wage hike of 1 lakh rupees, 10%, and therefore his new income is 11 lakh rupees. The tax that this person is paying, 11 lakh rupees, that is the income. The tax that this person would be paying on this higher income would be 1.25 lakh rupees on the first 10 lakhs plus 30,000 rupees on the next 1 lakh. Therefore, the total tax is 1.25 plus 30,000, which is 1.55 lakh. Hence, the disposable income is 11 minus 1.55, which is 9.45 lakh. Disposable income निकाली है बस हमने इस person की. Disposable income in the new inflation adjusted wage. Now, this person negotiated for a wage hike of 10% due to inflation. Final concept पे हम आ चुके हैं. This person negotiated for a wage hike of 10% because of inflation, and hence he got a wage hike. Therefore, his wage increased from 10 to 11 lakhs. But what about his disposable income, his actual earnings? Actual earnings earlier were 8.75 lakhs and now are 9.45 lakhs. पहले उसको घर ले जाने को कितने पैसे मिलते थे? 8.75. And because of inflation, this was his income, but actual disposable income, the money which he could spend, which he was actually spending, was 8.75 lakhs. मतलब इसमें savings भी करता होगा, but this was his actual expenditure plus saving 8.75 lakh because this is going as taxes. In order to shield himself from inflation of 10%, अगर 10% inflation से shield करना था, he should have at least got a 10% hike on this. On this disposable income, he should have gotten a hike of 10%. अगर 10% hike he got on 8.75 lakhs, therefore he would have gotten 87.5 thousand extra. If he got a 10% hike on 8.75 lakhs, he would have gotten 87,500 rupees extra as his actual disposable income. अगर 87,500 मिलता, what would have been his total? इस चीज को मैं मिटा देता हूं, ये बार थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम कर रहा है. This tax slab I am rubbing. This is 0 to 2.5, 2.5 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 plus. 8.75 plus 0.875. Then, in order to shield himself, he should have got 7 5 12 2 carry 1 8 8 16 9.625. His income should have been 9.625 lakhs. Whereas in the new scenario, his income is 9.45 lakhs. Listen very carefully. I'll repeat again. His take-home income or his disposable income was 8.75 lakhs earlier. Because there was inflation. अब inflation से क्या चीज affect हो रही थी? His household expenditure was being affected. His ability to save was being affected. This is being paid to the government. This is something which he is not taking home. ये तो उसका पैकेज है, ये तो सरकार को जा रहा है. This is what he is taking home, 8.75 lakhs. But what is happening is he asked for a 10% wage hike. He got a 10% wage hike. But when he got a 10% wage hike, he entered into a higher tax slab, into a higher tax bracket. Higher tax bracket में person enter हो गया. And because of this, the wage hike of 1 lakh which he got, 30,000 of that went to the government as taxes. So effectively, he is getting only 70,000 extra. 875, 945. He is getting only 70,000 extra. Whereas, in order to shield himself from inflation, he needed 87,500 extra. I'll repeat. Required to shield required to shield मतलब shield from inflation. Money required to shield from inflation was 87.5 thousand, whereas actual money increment is 70,000 only. He required 87,000 but he got only 70,000 effectively. उसको 1 लाख मिला है but effectively he is getting only 70,000. This extra 17,500 rupees जो है, जो extra 17,500 है, कहां जा रहा है? This is going to the government in form of extra tax that the government is collecting because this person has entered a higher tax bracket. I'll repeat. Where is this 17,500 going? He's gotten a 10% hike, but 10% hike has not translated into a 10% increase in his disposable income. His disposable income has increased only by 70,000, whereas he needed his disposable income to increase by at least 87,500. This 17,500 rupees of his loss is actually going to the government in form of more tax collection. सरकार ज्यादा टैक्स कलेक्ट कर रही है because this person has entered higher tax bracket. Did government do anything? Nothing. Absolutely. क्या सरकार ने आप पे ज्यादा टैक्स लगाया? नहीं. टैक्स स्लैब जो पहले एग्जिस्ट करता था, टैक्स स्लैब which used to exist earlier, still those tax slabs exist. Government has not done anything. Simply because there is inflation, people have moved into higher tax bracket. Many people have moved into higher tax bracket because there is inflation. And because of that, government without doing anything is collecting more amount of taxes. Without government ने आपके ऊपर आके नहीं बोला कि भाई हम आपके ऊपर ज्यादा टैक्स लगा रहे हैं. Tax slabs existed. Inflation occurred. And because of inflation, you negotiated for a higher wage. You got a higher wage. But when you got a higher wage, at the same time, government also got some proportion of your increased wage as tax. But the interesting part was the wage hike was insufficient because more proportion of your wage hike as compared to earlier, more proportion of your wage hike is now going to the government in form of taxes. Therefore, are you in reality shielded from increase in prices? Are you in reality shielded from inflation? No, you are not. In reality, are you? Has your disposable income increased by the amount that you wanted? No, it has not. So in reality, have you been shielded from inflation? No, you have not been. Therefore, what is it that you are going to do as a result? 10% hike भी मिल गया, लेकिन उसके बाद भी आपकी you were not able to shield yourself from inflation. What is going to be your action? As a consequence, you are now going to decrease your consumption. As a consequence, अब आप अपना expenditure कम करोगे. Why? Because now, despite getting a wage hike, you have not been able to shield yourself from the effects of inflation. Government has profited because of inflation. You have lost or you have not been able to adequately shield yourself from inflation, and therefore as a consequence of this new scenario, what is it that you are going to do? You are going to reduce your consumption. And once you reduce your consumption, what will happen to the economy? Economy will be cooled down. इकोनॉमी के अंदर प्राइसेस बढ़ रहे थे क्योंकि एकदम से ज्यादा डिमांड बढ़ गई थी. फॉर वट एवर रीजन, प्राइसेस वर इंक्रीजिंग बिकॉज ऑफ इंक्रीज डिमांड एंड सो ऑन सो फोर्थ. But now demand will be cooled down because many people they have not been able to shield themselves from these effects of inflation. Demand will come down, economy will cool down, and hence inflation spiral will be broken down. Because the economy is dragged down due to inflation, hence this is called as fiscal drag. Economy drag down हुई ना, ultimately economy cool down हुई, एक stop लगा prices के ऊपर. Why? Because people deliberately now reduce their consumption. Why deliberately? Because now they see that we are not able to shield that. Hamari increased income is not able to shield us from increased prices. Therefore, people will take deliberate action that they will reduce their consumption. Hence, this reduction in consumption will act as a drag on the economy. Therefore, this phenomenon is called fiscal drag. जब भी हम फिस्कल ड्रैग कहीं पे भी पढ़ेंगे, wherever we read fiscal drag's definition in any book, any source, wherever, फिस्कल ड्रैग की डेफिनेशन में फर्स्ट 2 लाइंस में एक वर्ड आएगा. द वर्ड वुड बी फिस्कल ड्रैग इज अ ऑटोमेटिक स्टेबलाइजर. Fiscal drag is an automatic stabilizer. Meaning what? Fiscal drag automatically stabilizes the economy, prevents the economy from heating up, cools down the economy, cools down the demand in the economy, and therefore it acts as an automatic stabilizer. Stabilizer of what? Of prices. This is what fiscal drag is. Effect on taxpayer and on tax collector. समझ में आया कि नहीं? Quick recap. Very quick recap. What are we studying? We are studying effect of inflation on taxpayer and tax collector. We are studying it through the concept of fiscal drag. What is fiscal drag? Let's study. We know what price wage spiral is. When prices increase, workers will negotiate for higher wages. When workers negotiate for higher wages, what happens is many of them will enter into higher tax bracket. Because taxes are progressive in nature, therefore, when workers enter into a higher tax bracket, more proportion of their income will go to the government as tax rather than ending up with themselves as disposable income. Therefore, despite receiving a hike, workers will not receive sufficient hike to shield them from the effects of inflation. Why? Because more proportion of their increased money, increased income will go to the government in form of taxes. Because the hike is insufficient to shield them from increase in prices, that is the effect of inflation. Hence, workers will or people will deliberately reduce their consumption. Why? Because their household expenditure is increasing due to inflation. People reduce their consumption and hence economy starts to cool down. The government receives more taxes because of progressive taxation system and price wage spiral. People end up being, and people do not receive adequate increment because more proportion of their income goes to the government as taxes, and ultimately the economy starts to cool down. Why? Because people reduce their consumption. Fiscal drag लिखो और उसके बाद पूछना. Any questions if you have regarding fiscal drag, ask after you have written. Give heading fiscal drag. Please give a heading. Fiscal drag नहीं, sorry, heading दो. चलो लिख दिया fiscal drag. Fiscal drag के आगे लिखो effect of inflation on taxpayer and tax collector. That is the government. Effect of inflation on taxpayer and tax collector. Write down. Due to inflation, workers negotiate for higher wages. Due to inflation, workers negotiate for higher wages. Full stop. In a country with progressive taxation, that is a system of taxation, इसको ब्रैकेट में लिख लो. that is जो है ना, that is से ब्रैकेट में लिख लो. we'll continue after progressive taxation, after the bracket. अभी ब्रैकेट में लिखो. that is a system in which tax rates are higher for people with higher incomes. A system in which tax rates are higher for people with higher income. Bracket close. अब कंटिन्यू करेंगे. In a country with progressive taxation, ब्रैकेट के बाद कॉमा लिखना. Due to increased wages, many people will enter. Due to increased wages, many people will enter into higher tax brackets. Many people will enter into higher tax brackets. Full stop. As a result, a greater proportion of their increased income, will go to the government in form of taxes. Full stop. As a result, their disposable income does not increase. As a result, their disposable income does not increase by a sufficient amount. As a result, their disposable income does not increase by a sufficient amount to shield them from higher prices. Comma, even though their nominal income may increase by a sufficient amount. Even though their nominal income may increase by a sufficient amount. Full stop. Next paragraph. As a result of increased nominal wages, and progressive taxation, comma, the government ends up collecting more taxes. During the times of inflation. The government ends up collecting more taxes during the times of inflation. Dash लगाओ. Without any explicit decision to collect more tax. Full stop. People realize the insufficiency in their increased wages. And as a result would tend to lower their consumption. Full stop. As such, the economy As such, the economy which was heating up, as such, the economy which was heating up due to higher prices, starts to cool down, The reduced demand, full stop के बाद, the reduced demand acts as a automatic stabilizer. The reduced demand acts as a automatic stabilizer of prices, and therefore fiscal drag is also referred as such, and therefore fiscal drag is also referred as such. As such माने क्या? Automatic stabilizer. लिख लो ब्रैकेट में, प्लीज राइट डाउन इन ब्रैकेट. As such के बाद लास्ट में ब्रैकेट में automatic stabilizer. ठीक है. I sincerely hope सबको बहुत ही अच्छे से समझ में आया होगा. People with huge income can deposit money in different accounts of family members. So Abu, how will it help? Let's say I earn lot of income. Let's say I earn 15 lakh rupees per month. नहीं कमाता हूं, लेकिन मान लो. So how will it make a difference that I will deposit my money in lot of my family members' bank account? It would be different if rather than taking money in my own account, I asked my employer to give money in multiple accounts. वो अलग केस है, वो फिर इलीगैलिटी वाली चीज आ जाती है. ठीक है, इलीगल वाली बात आ जाएगी. अगर मैं एम्प्लॉयर को बोलूं कि मेरे अकाउंट में 15 लाख रुपए महीने जमा करने की बजाय आप ये मेरे 10 फैमिली मेंबर्स के नाम, और पहले तो बेनामी नाम भी चलते थे विदाउट एग्जिस्टेंस ऑफ अ पर्सन. ठीक है, तो दैट इज इलीगल, वो इलीगल चीज है. I hope this is clear to everybody what fiscal drag is. Interesting concept, a little bit tricky because there are a few concepts involved here. Progressive taxation का concept है, inflation price with spiral है. ठीक है. Okay, I hope this is good. This is clear to everybody. So this was about fiscal drag. Last thing is the effect of inflation on, just a second, effect of inflation on external sector. Imports and exports. Effect of inflation on imports and exports. Please write down, give heading effect of inflation. ये लिखते लिखते समझ में आएगा, बहुत आसान चीज है. Very easy. लिखते लिखते समझ में आ जाएगा. Effect of inflation on imports and exports or external sector. Please write down. Inflation will make exports costly. Inflation will make exports costly. That is the price of goods. Produced in the country will increase. That is, the price of goods produced in the country will increase, and hence it would be incompetitive, that is costly with respect to competition. And therefore exports will reduce. Full stop. Next paragraph. Regarding imports, डैश लगा के लिखो, इन्फ्लेशन मेक्स domestic goods costlier. Inflation makes domestic goods costlier, and therefore foreign goods will become relatively cheaper. Foreign goods will become relatively cheaper. Therefore inflation tends to increase imports. Inflation tends to increase imports. Full stop. नेक्स्ट लाइन में स्टार लगा के एक लाइन लिखेंगे. प्लीज मेक अ स्टार मार्क एंड राइट डाउन इन नेक्स्ट लाइन. when talking about effects of inflation on external sector comma, when talking about effects of inflation on external sector comma, we don't just look at the domestic inflation. Rather we look at relative rates of inflation. Amongst countries. Full stop. For example, if IR, inflation rate, simply write IR. If inflation rate in India is 5%, and inflation rate in China is 10%. Inflation rate in China is 10%, comma, then relatively India's exports to China will become competitive, whereas China's exports to India bracket में, that is India's imports, bracket close, will become uncompetitive. फुल स्टॉप. इसी में आगे लिखोगे, स्टार लगाया हुआ है ना, इसी लाइन में आगे लिखो, there is a role of currency exchange rates as well. There is a role of currency exchange rates as well, comma, to be studied later. We'll do it when we do our chapter on external sector. अभी नहीं देखेंगे, एक्सटर्नल सेक्टर का चैप्टर आएगा तो उसमें देखेंगे. ठीक है, क्लियर है? On imports, exports, that is on external sector. Imports, exports, you are producing something, that is what is being exported. जो इंडिया में प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हो उसी को एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हो. इफ देयर इज हायर इन्फ्लेशन इन इंडिया तो कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन ऑफ दैट गुड विल इंक्रीज, हेंस इट विल बिकम अनकॉम्पिटिटिव. जो इंपोर्ट कर रहे हो, लेट्स से 2 गुड्स आर बीइंग इंपोर्टेड, मोबाइल फोन प्रोड्यूस्ड इन इंडिया वर्सेस मोबाइल फोन प्रोड्यूस्ड इन चाइना. If there is higher inflation in India, मोबाइल फोन प्रोड्यूस्ड इन चाइना विल बिकम रिलेटिवली चीपर एज कंपेयर टू मोबाइल फोन प्रोड्यूस्ड इन इंडिया, क्योंकि इंडिया में इन्फ्लेशन ज्यादा है, तो इंडिया का मोबाइल फोन जो इंडिया में बन रहा है, दैट मोबाइल फोन विल बिकम कॉस्टली. ठीक है, इट बिकम्स कॉस्टली, देयरफॉर मोबाइल फोन जो चाइना से आ रहा था, इट बिकम्स रिलेटिवली चीपर. So imports will increase. Imports tend to increase when there is higher inflation, relative inflation. Exports tend to decrease when there is higher inflation. ठीक है, एक स्टार लगा के एक पॉइंट और लिखो. लास्ट पॉइंट स्टार लगा के लिखो. राइट डाउन इंपोर्टेड इन्फ्लेशन. इंपोर्टेड इन्फ्लेशन, प्लीज राइट डाउन इंपोर्टेड इन्फ्लेशन. लिखो इंपोर्टेड में. There are many goods which are imported from abroad. There are many goods which are imported from abroad as raw material or intermediate goods. There are many goods which are imported from abroad as raw materials or intermediate goods. Used in production of goods made in India. Used in production of goods made in India. Full stop. When prices of such imported goods rise, when prices of such imported goods rise, comma, it leads to increase in price of domestically manufactured goods as well. It leads to increase in price of domestically manufactured goods as well. Full stop. This is called imported inflation. This is called imported inflation. बाहर से इंपोर्ट कर लिया हमने इन्फ्लेशन. इन्फ्लेशन तो जर्मनी में हो रही थी, लेकिन जर्मनी में इन्फ्लेशन की वजह से हमारे इन्फ्लेशन हो गई. Inflation was there in price of oil, but because we import oil and it's a very important raw material or intermediate goods in many of the items, hence there is inflation in India. We are importing palm oil from Malaysia, and because prices of palm oil in Malaysia and Brazil, they have increased, therefore we are facing an increase in price here. Imported inflation. ठीक है, समझ में आ गया? आसान चीज है. Let me see if there is any question. चलो, कूलिंग डाउन हेयर मीन्स लोअर ग्रोथ. जी हाँ वैभव, बिल्कुल सही आपने बोला. विल इट बी बेनिफिशियल टू इन्वेस्ट इन गोल्ड ड्यूरिंग इन्फ्लेशन? गोल्ड में इन्वेस्ट करना है कि नहीं, इसकी बात हम करेंगे नेक्स्ट क्लास में. Because in next class it's going to be really interesting when we talk about bonds and all. मैं आपको बोला था ना कि शायद आज वाली में हम नहीं कर पाएंगे. नेक्स्ट क्लास में हम बॉन्ड्स के बारे में बात करेंगे. आज की क्लास भी बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग करेंगे अभी ब्रेक के बाद, जब हम बिटकॉइन की बात करेंगे. आज टुडे वील टॉक अबाउट बिटकॉइन आफ्टर द ब्रेक. सो आई एक्सपेक्ट ऑल ऑफ यू टू रिमेन अटेंटिव. ब्रेक अभी 10 मिनट बाद देता हूं. ब्रेक पे जाने से पहले बताऊंगा हम क्या बात करेंगे. व्हाट वील टॉक अबाउट जस्ट 10 मिनट की बात बताता हूं, देन हम ब्रेक में जाएंगे. लास्ट थिंग, 5 minutes remaining for this topic. Last part is controlling inflation. Controlling inflation. How to control inflation. Last part, how to control inflation. We have seen what is inflation, what causes inflation, what are the effects of inflation. We have seen everything, and the final thing is about controlling inflation. Well, simply, if you know what is causing inflation, you simply control that particular factor. That is what is there in controlling inflation. Understand the reasons for inflation. Understand why is inflation happening. Identify the factors that may be causing a rise in price and address them, as simple as that. We have seen, for example, inflation may be due to high demand. Demand pull inflation. Well, what do? You try to control demand. Inflation may be due to some supply side factors. What do? You try to address those supply side factors. inflation is due to floods and drought, and because of that, large amount of crop of onion has been destroyed because there was flood or because any climatic condition. Because of that, large amount of crop of onion has been destroyed. What do you do in this case? Like, this cannot be addressed in one night, in 1 year, in 2 years, not even in 10 years. But the point is, you have identified why is there a rise in price of onion. Onion prices have risen because of asamay varsha, because of untimely rain, or because of drought. Onion prices have increased because there is excessive stocking going on by people. People are stocking onion price. Onion prices have increased because the roads to carry onion from crop to the mandi are not paved, and therefore there is a lot of wastage. Onion prices have increased because there aren't adequate storage facilities in mandis, and because of that, lot of onion crop is going waste. So there are multiple factors because of which onion price can increase. Onion price usually इस वजह से increase नहीं होंगे because people have become richer. Maybe that is the cause for increase in onion prices. Maybe, for example, let's say, think about it like this. In our parents' generation, there would be many people who do not consume onion. In our parents' generation, there would be many people who don't consume non-vegetarian food. But coming generation, more and more people are consuming onion, more and more people are consuming non-vegetarian food. अब non-vegetarian food खाने वालों की मात्रा ज़्यादा बढ़ेगी, naturally onion की demand ज़्यादा बढ़ जाएगी उसकी वजह से. So that would be a demand side factor causing an increase in price of onion. Farmers are usually producing, let's say, 10 million tons of onion, but slowly and steadily the demand is increasing. From 10 million ton, now you require 15 million ton all of a sudden. So that would be a demand side factor causing an increase in price. Simply identify the factor and then write down, okay, this can be done to address the price. This can be done to address increase in price. It can be a supply side factor, it can be a demand side factor. Supply side factor, as I was saying, supply side factors are difficult to address. भाई रोड अच्छी नहीं है, अभी तो सबको पता है रोड अच्छी होनी चाहिए, सबको पता है रोड अच्छी होनी चाहिए, रोड बनी क्यों नहीं? अब वो यार, go and ask whoever is responsible for construction of roads, good quality roads, go and ask that person. Does the government have money? Probably the government will say probably we don't have money for this. May whatever be the reason, but the point is supply side factors take time to address. Efficiency of infrastructure. Infrastructure will not be created in one day. You require money to build storage facility, modern storage facilities in mandi. For that you require funds, you require people to come up and set up those storage facilities. For that you require reforms in agricultural marketing. But agriculture marketing reforms nearly impossible. We'll talk about these reforms and the farm bills later on, but you get the point. So storage infrastructure will not be created in one day. Resilience to drought or flood cannot happen in one day. So supply side factors take time to address. It's not easy to address supply side factors. It's necessary to address them, but it's not easy to address them. Therefore, whenever prices rise, even if the rise is because of supply side factors, most of the times the solutions are, or the immediate solutions are on the demand side. Listen very, very carefully. क्या हम करते हैं? Controlling inflation is simple. Controlling inflation is identify what is causing a rise in price. जैसे we have discussed example of onion, there can be many factors that cause rise in price of onion. From change in dietary habits to untimely rainfall, flood, inefficient infrastructure, inefficient non-existent storage capacity, there can be many factors that cause a rise in price of onion. Some pest attack that may cause a rise in price of onion. So multiple factors can cause rise in prices. You identify the factor and you address that factor. Simple. However, addressing supply side factors is a little bit difficult. Supply side factors are addressed in what we call as quote unquote long term. Supply side factors cannot be built in one day. Storage capacity cannot be built in one day. Roads cannot be built in one day. It will take a long time to address those inefficiencies in supply. Supply side factors are necessary. Why? Because until a supply side factor like a poor road exists, prices of onion will be higher than what they should be. भले डिमांड नहीं बढ़ी है, भले ही बारिश नहीं हुई, भले ही ड्रॉट नहीं पड़ा, anything bad doesn't happen, but simply because road is poor, that means some onions would be going waste or not. Some onions would be going waste, and because some onions are going waste, prices of onions would be higher than what they should be, क्योंकि काफी सारे onion waste चले गए हैं. About 20% of our vegetable production doesn't end up on table, it goes waste. About 10% or 8% of our cereals production, wheat, rice वगैरह वाली production, it goes waste during the time of transportation and storage. So because it goes waste, due to that prices would be higher than what they should be, poor infrastructure की वजह से. So supply side factors are difficult to address, and since they are difficult to address, but increase in price is immediate. Onion का price तो immediately increase हो जाएगा, लेकिन उसको address करना एक long term measure है. Usually what happens is, usually governments take demand side methods, demand side approaches to control prices. Demand side approaches are two types, two basically fiscal approach and monetary approach. Fiscal approach में हम क्या करते हैं? Simply government spends less, or government would tend to spend less, which is causing a rise in price. Monetary approach में the amount of money available in the economy is reduced, or money is made costly. If I have some money in my pocket, I would tend to spend that money. In order to spend that money, if I need money from the bank and bank is charging me a higher rate of interest, I will be reluctant to borrow money from the bank. Why? Because now money has become costly, and if money becomes costly, then my intention to borrow and spend would reduce. So what is happening? Demand is being curtailed. Demand curtail हो रही है from monetary side. Money कम हो रहा है economy के अंदर. RBI is, let's say, withdrawing money from the market, and therefore cash is not available, let's say. Borrowing money from banks is becoming difficult, and these measures are usually used in order to address the demand side of prices. So controlling inflation is usually done through these measures, demand side measures, demand side fiscal measure, demand side monetary measures. What should be done and what is required is supply side, but supply side measures are difficult long term. So this is about controlling inflation. I have summarized here supply side factors, for example, anything that augments supply, mostly addressed through fiscal policy, yes. Investment in infrastructure, increasing production of scarce goods, increasing productivity of labor force and other factors of production. All these are supply side factors. Diversifying the sources of supply of raw material or imported goods. Next, demand side factors. Demand side factors क्या है? Basically which control demand, which curtail demand. Reduce the availability of money in the hands of people. How do you reduce availability of money in hands of people? Constrain the supply of money in the economy. This is basically our monetary, ये जो point है ये हमारा monetary policy का chapter है. Constrain the amount of money available in the hands of people. Reduce government expenditure. This is our chapter on fiscal policy. ठीक है? So I hope this is clear to everybody. Controlling inflation क्या है? Reasons पता है तो controlling inflation सीधा लिख सकते हैं उसके बारे में. एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन किस तरीके से पूछा जाएगा? इन योर प्रीलिम्स क्वेश्चन विल बी आस्क्ड दैट व्हिच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग मेजर्स कैन बी यूज्ड टू कंट्रोल इन्फ्लेशन. Which of the following steps can be taken to control inflation? Fine, such questions would be asked. I hope it would be easy for us to recognize these things. Chalo. With this, we have come to end of our discussion on inflation. Our chapter on inflation is over now. After the break, we'll start with a new chapter on monetary policy. Monetary policy पे start करेंगे और हम बात करेंगे break के बाद about what is money. Money क्या है? Currency क्या है? इस चीज के ऊपर हम बात करेंगे break के बाद. और money को समझने के लिए, in order to understand money, I'll be talking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin in rage. Many of you would have been investing in Bitcoin or trading in Bitcoin. So let's understand what Bitcoin is. Let me shatter the dreams of some of the people. No, I'll not shatter. It's good. If you are investing, if you are making money there, what's better than that? Good. So we'll talk about what Bitcoin is. बिफोर गोइंग टू द ब्रेक आई विल गिव यू होमवर्क. होमवर्क का मतलब ब्रेक के बाद वाला होमवर्क. प्लीज टेल मी in not more than 2 lines, 2 lines से ज्यादा नहीं, not more than 2 lines, you have to define what Bitcoin is. ध्यान से सुनो, अभी मत लिखने लग जाना, जिसने अभी लिखा मैं उसका आंसर भी नहीं पढ़ूंगा. Define in 2 lines what Bitcoin is. Please, it would be better अगर आप गूगल वगैरह मत करो तो. All of you know what it is. सबको मालूम है क्या है Bitcoin. 2 लाइन से ज्यादा में कोई डिफाइन नहीं करेगा. Not more than 2 lines. Number 1. Number 2. Second condition is this. If you are submitting your answer, then you should know what each and every word in your answer means. अगर आपको नहीं पता है कि आपके आंसर में जो आपने 2 लाइन डेफिनेशन लिखी है बिटकॉइन की, इफ यू डोंट नो व्हाट ईच एंड एवरी वर्ड इन दैट आंसर मीन्स, प्लीज डोंट सबमिट योर आंसर. प्लीज डोंट सबमिट. मैं कोई मार्क्स नहीं दे रहा हूं, मैं आपको कहीं पे पास फेल कुछ नहीं कर रहा हूं. Please don't submit answers if you don't know each and every word. I'd just like to see whether some of you can define what Bitcoin or any digital currency is clearly in a manner which is understandable, which you know every meaning, to which you know every meaning of every word which is there in the definition. ठीक है, ब्रेक के बाद ये 10 मिनट का ब्रेक लेते हैं. ब्रेक के बाद मिलते हैं. इट इज 7 o'clock. लेट्स मीट एट 7:10. 7:10 पे मिलते हैं. ठीक है, चलो लेट्स टेक अ ब्रेक. मना किया ना मैंने वर्चुअल करेंसी. एक बहुत बढ़िया. भी मत करो यार, सोच के लिखो, सोच के. कोई रेस नहीं लगी है यहां पे कि आपको सबसे जल्दी आंसर देना है. सोच के लिखो प्लीज. अपने दिमाग के घोड़े दौड़ाओ. इस घोड़े दौड़ाओ. 10 मिनट का टाइम मैंने इसलिए दिया. ठीक है, चलो लेट्स टेक अ ब्रेक ऑफ 10 minutes, देन वील सी ईच अदर देन. चलो let's start. I hope everybody is back. I'll read your answers in some time. Let's start with a new topic now. The most important topic according to me, I feel that it's very important. We are going to start with the topic of monetary policy. This topic of monetary policy, let me first give a brief introduction. This topic of monetary policy will consist of a discussion on money and banking. दो चीजें इसके अंदर होंगी, money and banking. These are the things we are going to discuss. With respect to money, we'll discuss lot of things. What money is, supply of money, demand of money, creation of money, credit creation, multiple things we'll discuss. बहुत ही बड़ा topic है. Then we'll discuss about banking. It naturally translates into banking, so we'll discuss there. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss obviously the role of RBI or the central bank with respect to money, control of money, supply of money को कैसे RBI control करता है, what are the tools that RBI has. We'll talk about those tools. When we transition into banking, we'll talk about how does RBI regulate banks with respect to their various operations. So we are going to talk about this topic now for about, let's say 7 to 8 classes. I expect about 8 classes would be required for this whole discussion of money and banking. बहुत ही important, interesting topic है. Secondly, this topic of monetary policy, this is what lies at the core of economics. Please listen, please listen. देखो fiscal policy का जो topic है, fiscal policy, it is more of a general topic with an economics leaning. Fiscal policy में when we talk about budget, when we talk about taxes, many people have knowledge about these things. These are things of general importance with economics leaning. Whereas monetary policy is something which is at its very core economics. तो मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी इसीलिए इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक भी है, इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक भी है. और अगर एग्जाम के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देखें, इफ यू लुक एट फ्रॉम द एग्जाम्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, दिस इज द टॉपिक मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी एंड बैंकिंग. दिस इज द टॉपिक फ्रॉम विच मैक्सिमम क्वेश्चंस आर आस्क्ड. मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी एंड बैंकिंग से अगर हम प्रीवियस ईयर पेपर्स उठाएं, largest proportion of topics, questions that have been asked have been from this topic only. Number one. Number two. Number three. Let me first tell you कि हम इस टॉपिक में किन किन चीजों पे फोकस करेंगे. Please allow me to introduce this topic to you. I'll tell you on what things are we going to focus on in our discussion on this particular topic, and which things are important from our prelims and mains point of view. Some knowledge about this topic some of you already have. देखो, आप लोगों में से कई सारे लोग बोलते हो ना कि जब मैं पढ़ाया तो सर जो मेरे को जितनी इकोनॉमिक्स आती थी वो भी उसी में भी मैं कंफ्यूज हो गया हूं या हो गई हूं. मेनी पीपल से. एनीवेज, इस चीज में इन दिस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक ऑल्सो वी लुक एट सम ऑफ द टॉपिक्स विच सम ऑफ यू वुड हैव सम इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट, बट आई अज्यूम मोस्ट ऑफ यू डोंट हैव. मुझे भी नहीं थी जब मैंने पहली बार पढ़ा था, तो मैं अज्यूम करूंगा आपको भी नहीं है. ठीक है ना. यू माइट बी स्मार्टर देन मी, प्रॉब्ली यस, बट आई अज्यूम कि भाई जो है किसी को नहीं पता है. एवरीबडी इज स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम बेसिक्स. सम टॉपिक्स फ्रॉम द पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू ऑफ एग्जाम, इंपॉर्टेंट फ्रॉम द पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू ऑफ एग्जाम आर टूल्स ऑफ मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी. मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी टूल्स, जो आरबीआई के पास टूल्स हैं टू कंडक्ट मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी. मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी मतलब क्या? पॉलिसी इज सिंपली दैट यू टेक सर्टेन डिसीजंस इन परसूट ऑफ सम ऑब्जेक्टिव. You have a certain objective and you take decisions in pursuit of that objective. What are the tools that you have which help you to take that decision and then reach that objective? क्या tools हैं आपके पास? क्या कर सकते हो? What power, what authority do you have? Tools. We call those things tools. So important from prelims point of view are those tools. Tools में हम basically पढ़ते हैं repo rate, reverse repo rate, LAF, liquidity adjustment facility, statutory liquidity ratio, cash reserve ratio. These are things that we study in those tools. ये जो tools वाला part है, this tools part is important from your prelims point of view. Prelims के point of view से this tools is important. From mains point of view, these tools are बिल्कुल इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. मेंस में कभी इनसे क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछा जाएगा दैट व्हाट इज रेपो रेट, एक्सप्लेन रेपो, एक्सप्लेन रिवर्स रेपो. मेंस में इस टाइप के क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछाएंगे. बट फ्रॉम प्रीलिम्स पर्सपेक्टिव दीज आर इंपॉर्टेंट. From mains point of view, the important topics would be demand of money, supply of money, and in that you will need some assistance of these tools. But demand and supply of money, these are important topics from mains point of view. Another topic which is important or which has gained importance in recent times due to multiple news items is this. एक और topic जो कि news की वजह से काफी important हो गया है is with respect to bonds and all. Bonds, their prices, their movement with respect to interest rates, inflation, RBI decision. Bonds क्या होते हैं, उनके prices कैसे move होते हैं, क्या उनका return होता है. So everything related to bonds, we'll discuss about that. Those bonds will come in our discussion about demand of money. जब हम कुछ speculative demand की बात करेंगे, we'll see what all these things are. I'm just giving you an overview of what all is going to come in this topic. We'll talk about bonds then. So this topic has become important in recent times, bonds के ऊपर. Then from there we'll move into banking, we'll move into credit creation process. उस credit creation process में we'll see what are the different regulatory tools that RBI has over banks. How is money created in the economy? How do banks lend money? What are NPAs? Why is there a problem of NPAs? How can we address NPAs, non-performing assets? So वहां से हम banking के अंदर turn हो जाएंगे. So then we'll discuss that banking aspect. Finally, in about I'll give you notes of this particular topic जो last में जो मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ regarding NBFCs, NABARD and so on so forth, some related institutions with respect to monetary policy. I'll give you notes, printed notes मैं आपको दूंगा इन चीजों के. We'll have a brief discussion about these things. If there is any question you may ask, but हम इन चीजों के ऊपर ज्यादा टाइम नहीं लगाएंगे कि नाबार्ड क्या होता है, NBFCs क्या होती हैं, कैसे काम करती हैं, कुछ. I'll give you introduction. I'll tell you what these things are, how do they work, but not in detail like we discuss about RBI के बारे में जैसे डिस्कस करेंगे या फिर मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी के बारे में, not in that much detail. So this is broadly the outline of this topic. This is what we are going to study in this topic. I hope this outline is clear to you. चलो अब स्टार्ट करते हैं डिस्कशन विद द टॉपिक ऑफ मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी. लेट्स डिस्कस मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी, मनी एंड बैंकिंग. सो द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन दैट अराइजेस इज व्हाट इज मेंट बाय द टर्म मनी? व्हाट इज करेंसी? देन वी कम टू हियर मेनी टर्म्स, फिएट मनी, promissory notes, coins, notes, currency notes. ये सब चीजें क्या हैं? What are these different things? First of all, let's understand the concept of money. सबसे पहले समझते हैं money क्या है? What is money? As all of you know, money is defined as, money is sometimes referred to as medium of exchange. Everybody knows this definition. Money is medium of exchange. Now, what is meant by this term medium of exchange? Medium of exchange, something which enables exchange, something which enables people to exchange what they possess with something which they want. Enabling people to exchange, enabling people to possess something which they want. This is what money is. It enables people. What is this enabling? What is this medium जिसकी हम बात कर रहे हैं? If we go back in earlier days, many of you would know this again, barter exchanges. आप सबको पता होगा कि barter exchanges होते थे. What is a barter exchange? Barter exchange is when you exchange one good for another good. I've got wheat, you have got rice, we'll exchange wheat for rice. I've got wheat, you have got milk, we will exchange wheat for milk. It's a barter exchange when one good is exchanged for another good. Now in this transaction, ये जो barter transaction है, in this transaction please understand, this transaction में there is no medium of exchange. In a barter transaction there is no medium which enables people to exchange. It is simply you have a particular good and I have another good and we are exchanging these goods with each other. There is some rate at which we are exchanging. कुछ rate है, 1 kg of wheat will be exchanged with 2 liters of milk. कुछ rate है. But it is a good to good exchange. Milk can also be exchanged for sugar. Milk can also be exchanged for pottery. Pottery can also be exchanged for wheat. Wheat can be exchanged with sugarcane, something with cotton, something with cloth, something else. So any good can be exchanged for some other good. There is no one particular item, there is no one particular good which is being exchanged with any other item. Any good can be exchanged for any other good. इसको हम बोलते हैं barter. This is called as barter exchanges. There is no medium here, as in there is no common medium here. जब मैं बोल रहा हूं कोई medium नहीं है का मतलब कोई common medium नहीं है exchange करने का. These barter exchanges will need double coincidence of wants. I'll repeat, these barter exchanges will need double coincidence of wants. मतलब क्या हुआ? If I have milk and you have sugar, both of us should need what the other possesses. अगर मेरे पास milk है, if I have milk and I want sugar, I will be able to get sugar only when you want milk. अगर आपके पास milk नहीं, if you don't want milk, then I will not be able to get sugar. So therefore, in order for this exchange to take place between me and you for sugar and milk, it assumes, it requires that both of us are in requirement of what the other possesses. If what is possessed by other is not needed by me, if sugar is not needed by me, I have milk but I don't need sugar, then in that case exchange will not be possible. Secondly, in barter exchange, things should be exchanged as quickly as possible. पहला barter exchange की हमने property देखी that it requires a double coincidence of wants. Second important thing is that barter exchange needs things to be exchanged as quickly as possible. Any exchange would need that things should be exchanged as easily, as conveniently as possible. If I want sugar, I would want sugar immediately. I don't want sugar after 10 days or 20 days. जब आपके पास want होगा milk का, तब आप मेरे से milk लोगे and then you will sell me sugar. So I don't want sugar after 10 days or 20 days. I want sugar immediately. So any exchange should have this property that it is able to immediately settle the requirement. Any exchange cannot be prolonged, because once it is prolonged, the want reduces. I'll repeat, please listen carefully. Once the exchange is prolonged, the want of that good reduces. So you need exchange to happen as quickly as possible. At the same time, barter exchange in barter exchange, you are exchanging, let's say, milk for sugar. Can milk be produced for 10 days, preserved for 10 days? Can sugar be preserved in the open for 10 days? No, it cannot be. अगर आपके पास मिल्क है और सामने वाले के पास शुगर है, बट दैट पर्सन रिक्वायर्स मिल्क 5 days फ्रॉम नाउ, 5 दिन के बाद चाहिए उसको मिल्क, विल यू बी एबल टू प्रोवाइड मिल्क टू दैट पर्सन आफ्टर 5 days? प्रोबेबली नो. एटलीस्ट जो आज का मिल्क है इसको तो नहीं प्रोवाइड कर पाओगे, फ्रेश मिल्क आप प्रोवाइड करोगे. दिस मिल्क कैनॉट बी स्टोर्ड फॉर यू बाय यू फॉर नेक्स्ट 5 days in order to meet your requirement. Why? Because this item is perishable in nature. The item that you are using for exchange is perishable, and hence it cannot be preserved for a long term. So what do you need in the item that you want to exchange? You need that it should be. मैं कब accept करूंगा? When would I accept something that you are offering to me? अगर आप मुझे कुछ चीज ऑफर कर रहे हो, I would accept it if it is able to retain its value for some longer duration. If the thing that you're offering to me is not retaining its value for a longer duration, then it is of no use to me. अगर आज मैंने आपसे, if today I exchange sugar and milk, person A, person B, sugar, milk. If sugar and milk is exchanged, milk would need to be consumed immediately on the same day. It cannot be preserved for long term. If you say that I will want milk 5 days from now, I cannot preserve this milk for 5 days and then offer this milk to you. So जो milk item है, जो exchange हो रहा है, the item which is being exchanged, milk, doesn't have life, doesn't have preservability. It loses its value rather quickly. It is perishable in nature. In order to exchange, I would need items which are sustained in nature, which have a sustained value for some time. I would need items which are able to preserve their value for some time rather than deteriorating in value immediately. Think about it in terms of inflation. I want to buy bread for you by offering you 10 rupees. You sell me bread, which is real thing, real item है bread. ब्रेड में कंज्यूम करूंगा, एक रियल चीज है ब्रेड. और 10 रुपए का नोट सिंपल एक पीस ऑफ पेपर है. इट इज मेरली a piece of paper. That 10 rupees note is merely a piece of paper, but the bread that you are selling me, that is something real which I want. What is the value of this 10 rupees paper? I give this 10 rupees paper to you and immediately its value decreases. मान लेते हैं इन्फ्लेशन बहुत ज्यादा है. इन्फ्लेशन is at the rate of 10,000%. That in one day currency is losing half of its value. If in one day currency loses half of its value, I give 10 rupees to you and you give me bread. With that 10 rupees, will you be able to buy bread? No. Now you need 20 rupees to buy bread. Will you accept such piece of paper? Will you accept such notes, such currency from me which do not have any value or whose value cannot be preserved even for one day? ऐसी करेंसी आप एक्सेप्ट करोगे क्या जिसके अंदर कुछ वैल्यू नहीं है, जो प्रिजर्व ही नहीं हो पा रही है? सो व्हाट डू यू नीड व्हेन यू आर एक्सचेंजिंग थिंग्स विद ईच अदर? यू नीड समथिंग व्हिच कैन बी प्रिजर्व्ड. ये बातें समझ में आ रही है कि नहीं? प्रॉपर्टीज, वी आर डिस्कसिंग सर्टेन प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ मनी, कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स. characteristics. Ability to be used as a medium of exchange. Ability to be used as a medium of exchange. What is it that you need for something to be able to be used as a medium of exchange? It must not depend on double coincidence of wants. This should be a desirable property. क्या है? It must not depend upon double coincidence of want. It must be able to preserve its value. Whatever you use should be able to preserve its value. Must be easy to carry and store. Must be acceptable to large number of people. And so on. समझो इस चीज को. We are looking at properties of money. We say that money is something which enables us to exchange goods with each other. In order for something to be able to act as a medium of exchange, कई सारे एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं. Let's take example of, let's say, milk, gold and currency note. Earlier we had barter system of exchange, so let's say milk. Throughout history, if you look at, there have been n number of items that has been used as a medium of exchange. पत्थरों को exchange हमने किया है. Pacific Islands पे there are certain stones, those have been used as medium of exchange. Gold has been a prominent medium of exchange. Currency has been a modern medium of exchange. Digital currency we'll discuss. अभी थोड़ी देर में discuss करते हैं क्या है digital currency. For something to be used as a medium of exchange, it must not depend upon double coincidence of wants. That means desire should always be there. Desire to get that thing or use that thing should always be there. Milk and sugar में it requires a double coincidence of want, but milk and gold में it is always there. Gold, जब भी अगर आपके पास गोल्ड है, आप गोल्ड लेके आओ, I will exchange gold for milk. If you have money, bring money, as in if you have currency, bring currency, I will always exchange currency for milk. So eliminate double coincidence of want. If you bring something which I don't need right now, I will not use that product. आप डेयरी वाले के पास जाओ, you go to a person from where you buy milk, for example. You take milk to that dairy wala. That person will probably take milk and give you paneer in return. Probably. Why? Because that person needs milk. There is a want there. You take milk to that person, he will give paneer in return. आपको पनीर चाहिए, उसको milk मिल गया. So this can happen. But this coincidence, there is a coincidence that the person wanted what you possessed. आप milk लेके जाओ टी-शर्ट खरीदने के लिए, वो आपको बोलेगा भागो यहाँ से. So anything which needs to be used as a medium of exchange must eliminate this double coincidence of want. Number one. Number two, it must be able to preserve its value. Preserve its value as in the value of the good that you are using or the item that you are using as a medium of exchange, the value of that good should not deteriorate. Gold, I use gold to exchange some item. Gold's value should not deteriorate. Currency's value should not deteriorate. Milk's value will deteriorate. Sugar's value will deteriorate. So anything whose value can be preserved for a longer duration, that becomes a strong contender to be used as money. जिसकी वैल्यू प्रिजर्व हो सकती है लंबे समय तक, it becomes a strong contender to be used as money. Must be easy to carry and store. Gold यहां पे लूज आउट कर जाता है. Difficult to store. Why? Because you need lot of security to store gold. Not easy to carry because it's heavy. Metal है, थोड़ा heavy है. Currency notes are easy to carry and store, and therefore relatively there is a relative ease of use here. Must be acceptable to large number of people. Well, this is the obvious condition. It must be acceptable. Large number of people accept gold, therefore gold will become acceptable. Listen, ध्यान से सुनना. Large number of people accept gold, therefore it is acceptable. Gold is not acceptable because it is easy to carry and store. Gold is not acceptable because it is it is able to preserve its value. Iron भी है, iron भी अपनी value preserve करेगा. You bring stainless steel, it will also preserve its value. Stainless steel, okay, easy to carry and store. मान लेते हैं stainless steel is easy to carry and store. Let us assume that in case of stainless steel also, there is no double coincidence of bonds. But stainless steel is not acceptable to everybody, and therefore stainless steel doesn't become acceptable. Because it is not acceptable to large number of people, therefore it is not acceptable. Because something is acceptable to large number of people, therefore it is acceptable. Cause and effect में दोनों में सेम चीज बोल दी है मैंने ऑलमोस्ट. दोबारा से सुनना आप ध्यान से. Because something is acceptable to large number of people, therefore it is acceptable. I'll use this as a cue to start our discussion on digital currency. Digital currency discuss करते हैं. Let's discuss what Bitcoin is, what it is not, in order to understand complete historical evolution of money and what money is. बिटकॉइन हम समझेंगे क्या होता है, और उसको समझने से वी विल बी एबल टू क्लियरली अंडरस्टैंड एंटायर हिस्ट्री ऑफ मनी, कि मनी क्या है, कैसे था, कैसे बना और आज क्या है. बिटकॉइन को हम समझ गए. लेट मी क्विकली रीड व्हाट यू हैव रिटन. मेनी ऑफ यू हैव रिटन अबाउट बिटकॉइन. बिटकॉइन्स आर ट्रांजैक्शन मेड विद नो मिडलमैन, type of digital currency which enhance security of transaction with the help of artificial intelligence. Cryptocurrency that uses blockchain technology. Do you know what blockchain is? Bitcoin is digital virtual currency between two users and eliminate the middlemen. Independent electronic medium of exchange. It is a digital currency. Is a cryptocurrency working on blockchain technology, centralized ledger without any sovereign backing. Is a virtual currency created as a way for people to send money over internet using blockchain tech. Form of cryptocurrency based on blockchain. Decentralized, not formally controlled or regulated by any central bank. Currency where it is not administered by authority, hence decentralized amongst users. People can earn this currency by validating transaction, that is mining. Bitcoin are virtual currencies, use blockchain tech, not authorized by any authority, don't involve any information of persons involved in particular transaction. Digital currency where there is no intermediary. Cryptocurrency, decentralized, also used for illegal transaction, fine. High value digital currency that is used for instant transaction and use blockchain tech, secured but difficult to mine, as difficult to regulate, as well as difficult to regulate. Virtual currency which is based on blockchain tech, are not controlled by any institution. Raghvendra, kind of currency which has details of its previous owner. Unlike cash, there is no peer-to-peer transfer without any intermediary, that is transaction is not successful, you may end up losing your money. Commodity, popularly considered as cryptocurrency which uses blockchain tech, fine. Digitally extracting data and solving complex algorithm over a multiple set of computer. Akhilesh, finally somebody. Bitcoin is precious metal whose value change with its demand. No. Moses, Bitcoin is currency which gives digital platform money that is completely virtual. Bitcoin is digital currency which is generated through solving algorithm problem, used for trading and save in blockchain. Sort of good. Virtual currency in form of some algorithm and have some mathematical identity. Sushma operates independently. Vodnala is digital currency. फाइन, ठीक है. और सबके नहीं पढ़ता हूं यार, सॉरी, काफी सारे पढ़ लिए हैं. type of Harsh is saying type of cryptocurrency limited in number, thus deriving its value and mind solving complex mathematical problems, exponential difficulty. Good. With no central regulatory, ठीक है लक्ष्य. Send to user network, virtual ledger using blockchain, type of digital currency, store of. मुझे तो इकोनॉमिक्स का मीनिंग नहीं पता था. अरे कोई बात नहीं, अरे अबू कोई बात नहीं. चलो ठीक है. चलो, please. I've read most of your answers. Right, but not what I was looking for. Some of the answers had that spark, but not completely. Good. दो ही आंसर दो ही लाइन में लिख रहा था, इससे ज्यादा आप क्या ही लिखते. Anyways, let's study. मजेदार चीज है Bitcoin. It makes my task easy to explain to you what digital currency is, which is more of a current affairs topic, not exactly in economics, but it helps me to explain money in a very detailed, elaborate manner. समझते हैं पहले बिटकॉइन क्या है. What is Bitcoin? Let's understand. Evolution of money. Explain it with the help of Bitcoin. मेरा बस चले तो मैं मेंस में क्वेश्चन लिख दूं. Explain the evolution of money with the help of digital currency. Interesting question. It would be an interesting question to answer. If you want to write an answer to this, you can write. Explain the evolution of money with the help of digital currency. If you want to write, you can write this paper. चलो. Let's study. Let's understand. क्या है? Let's say there are about 200-250 people in this class. Let's say two of you start exchanging pieces of paper with each other. आप में से दो लोग, please listen to me very carefully. Two of you start to exchange piece of paper with each other. And this piece of paper acts as something, as a medium of exchange between you two only. दो लोग हैं क्लास में और क्लास के दो लोग स्टार्ट करते हैं एक गेम खेलना. दे स्टार्ट टू प्ले अ गेम एंड इन दैट गेम व्हाट दे डू इज दैट वी हैव pieces of paper with each other. अपने रजिस्टर के पीछे से कुछ पेपर फाड़े. We have some pieces with each other and these pieces will be used as a medium of exchange between us two people, A and B, and they exchange goods with each other using pieces of paper. So let's say one day A forgets to bring a pen to the class. So A needs a pen. A को पेन की जरूरत है. B has pens with him, extra pens with him. A has some pieces of paper with him. A के पास कुछ कागज के टुकड़े हैं. So what will A do? A will give these pieces of paper to B and B will give a pen to A. Exchange has been facilitated between A and B using these pieces of paper. Clear? Now this piece of paper is not करेंसी नोट नहीं है. 100 रुपए का नोट, 10 रुपए का, 5 रुपए का नोट नहीं है. ये सिंपली रजिस्टर के पीछे से फाड़े हुए कुछ कागज के टुकड़े हैं, फर्रे हैं कुछ. These pieces of paper, these are not currency notes. These are simply some torn pages from back of your register. Nothing else. No value whatsoever. Zero intrinsic value. Nothing. कोई वैल्यू नहीं है इनकी. No value of these papers. But these papers are acceptable between A and B. You can think of them as these papers are like track keeping between A and B. Today I have forgotten a pen. Tomorrow you may forget a pencil. Tomorrow you may forget a scale. So then I will take some papers from you and I will give you pencil and scale. Now what is happening? A and B are accepting these pieces of paper to exchange goods with each other. एक दूसरे के साथ goods exchange करने के लिए A and B are accepting these papers with each other. बाकी जनता, बाकी जो 250 लोग हैं, बाकी remaining 250 people in the class, जैसे क्या बदतमीज पागल लोग हैं, दिमाग खराब है इनका, क्या कागज के टुकड़ों से एक दूसरे के साथ गेम खेलने फालतू का. So nobody is interested in this. Nobody is interested. Only these two people are interested. A and B then decide, let us expand our game a little bit. Rather than merely exchanging this pen, pencil, paper, sharpened rubber, let us expand our game and let us start to exchange more number of goods with these pieces of paper. Let's exchange, let's say, clothes with each other. I'll buy a t-shirt and I will sell a t-shirt to B, and rather than taking money, I will take it in pieces of paper. Simply these two are deciding to expand their game. If I buy a t-shirt, sell that t-shirt to B, B gives me large number of these papers. Now I have large number of papers, तो इसका मतलब अब मैं अगले कई दिन तक, for next many days, I will not bring a pen, and every day I will get a new pen from B and offer him some pieces of paper. So a t-shirt has entered. That means a new set of goods has entered into a transaction between A and B, which is being facilitated using these zero intrinsic value pieces of paper. ये बात समझ में आ गई कि नहीं? Think of it like this. टेम्पल रन सबने खेला होगा मोबाइल में. टेम्पल रन, मोस्ट ऑफ यू वुड हैव प्लेड व्हाट टेम्पल रन इज. आजकल आई डोंट नो व्हिच गेम इज गोइंग ऑन. टेम्पल रन में वो जब दौड़ता है, व्हेन द पर्सन इज रनिंग, यू आर कलेक्टिंग कॉइन्स. You have 1 trillion coins in your Temple Run account. I have 1 billion coins of Temple coins in my Temple Run accounts. और as वो आपने ad देखा होगा, cred, I have 1 million cred coins in my account. तो टेम्पल रन के आपके पास 1 ट्रिलियन. अब उन कॉइन्स का क्या यूज है? कोई यूजेज नहीं है. यू गो टू अ फ्रूट शॉप. द फ्रूट सेलर इज सेलिंग एप्पल्स, and it happens that that fruit seller is also a Temple Run addict. That fruit seller is in want of Temple Run coins because he has to purchase some item in Temple Run. उसको Temple Run store में कुछ item खरीदना था. कोई जहाज खरीदना है, कोई टोपी खरीदनी है, उसेन बोल्ट का भागने वाला खरीदना है. He has to buy something in Temple Run store and he is short of those coins, Temple Run coins. He asks you, give me 1000 of your Temple Run coins and I will give you 1 kg of apples. A real good is being exchanged now, apples. A real good is exchanged between you two people in exchange for, what is being exchanged? Something which is worthless. सबके पास ट्रिलियंस ऑफ है, उस सेब वाले के पास, बेचारे के पास कम थे, दैट पर्सन हैड लेस, एंड देयरफॉर समथिंग वर्थलेस इज बीइंग यूज्ड नाउ टू एक्सचेंज समथिंग व्हिच इज ऑफ वर्थ, व्हिच इज ऑफ एक्चुअल वैल्यू. एप्पल्स आर ऑफ एक्चुअल वैल्यू एंड दैट इज बीइंग एक्सचेंज यूजिंग दोस वर्थलेस कॉइन्स. Another fruit seller lying, standing next to him, he sees that what is this exchange? He is also interested in Temple Run and therefore he says, आप मेरे यहां से अनार खरीदो, you buy pomegranates from my shop and give me 10,000 Temple Run coins and I will give you 1 kg of pomegranate. So another person joins in. These two fruit seller, they also exchange these coins with each other. Why? Because both of them need these coins. You tell this to your friends who are also Temple Run addicts and they also go and buy fruits from fruit seller by exchanging their Temple Run coins. More and more people are now joining transactions of real items with this seemingly worthless item of Temple Run coins. More and more people are joining this transaction. A and B are exchanging with these worthless pieces of paper with each other some actual goods. And now person C, who has been observing A and B since long, sees, okay, let me also join this game. क्या फर्क पड़ता है, इस गेम में मैं भी join कर लेता हूँ. I will also exchange goods with A and B and they with me using these pieces of paper. So all of us will now enter into transaction with each other using this seemingly worthless pieces of paper. And slowly and steadily everybody in the class starts to join. सबको लगता है चलो अब ये गेम खेलते हैं. Let us see at the end of our coaching class, जब हमारे 1 साल के बाद सारा कोर्स कंप्लीट हो जाएगा, let us see at the end how much of these worthless pieces of paper everybody possesses. So everybody in the class starts to join this game. Or let us say Temple Run, if that is more interesting. See, a little bit old school, I don't know which is the newest game, so please bear with me. Okay? Little bit old. I don't know if anybody plays Temple Run nowadays or not. So anyways, you get the point. The point is that something which was worthless, important point क्या मैंने बताया? Something which was worthless, not having any value whatsoever. गेम खेलो, गेम में आपको कॉइन हजारों करोड़ों मिल रहे हैं. कॉपी खरीदो, कॉपी के पीछे से कागज फाड़ो, एंड यू हैव n number of these pieces of paper with you. Something which is completely worthless is being used as a medium of exchange for some real goods, some goods which possess real value. Is this clear or not? When A and B expanded the number of items that they can exchange using these worthless pieces of paper, other people started to feel that we should also join this game. When C joined, then D felt कि भाई now there are 3 people and large number of goods, therefore I should also join. When D joined, now E will also be tempted to join. When E joined, then F, G, H, I, J एक साथ आ गए भाई. यहां अब ऑलरेडी 6-7 लोग हुए हैं, हमें भी चाहिए, हमें भी इस गेम को खेलना है. The last point that we discussed must be acceptable to large number of people. It is becoming acceptable to large number of people, and therefore more and more people are joining. It is becoming acceptable to large number of people, therefore more and more people are joining, and it is becoming more and more acceptable. तो ये चीज और एक्सेप्टेबल होती जा रही है. सिंपली एक गेम की तरह स्टार्ट हुआ है. स्टार्टेड लाइक अ गेम बिटवीन ए एंड बी, स्टार्टेड लाइक अ गेम ऑफ टेम्पल रन, nobody else is playing, and simply because of that other people have started to join. Why? Because more and more transactions meaning something which is actually worth, really worth, can be purchased from these coins, can be purchased from these pieces of paper. I hope it is making sense to you everybody as of now. Essentially, at its essence, Bitcoin is this. Simply replace that Temple Run coin with that Bitcoin. At its essence, it is that. आप में सब लोगों ने लिखा डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड करेंसी है, आरबीआई का कोई कंट्रोल नहीं है. Almost everybody has written this statement in their answers, that it's a decentralized currency and RBI has no control. Do you understand what is meant by this term decentralized? Do you understand what is meant by this term that RBI has no control? This is what it means to be decentralized. RBI is not generating those Temple Run coins. RBI is not generating these pieces of paper. You are generating it. You are playing Temple Run. You are generating coins. RBI has no control over that how much time should you devote to Temple Run every day. RBI has no control over how many coins would be generated when you play a Temple Run game long enough. RBI का कोई कंट्रोल नहीं है. इस वजह से इसको बोलते हैं डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड. दैट इज व्हाई इट इज कॉल्ड अ डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड करेंसी. डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड मतलब क्या? डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड मीनिंग आरबीआई इज नॉट कंट्रोलिंग हाउ मेनी कॉइन्स आर देयर. आरबीआई इज नॉट कंट्रोलिंग how are coins generated, how long should you play Temple Run. RBI is not controlling how much pieces of paper A has, how much piece of paper B has. खत्म हो गए पीस ऑफ पेपर, नया रजिस्टर लेके उसको फाड़ेंगे, वहां से नए पेपर बनाएंगे. आरबीआई तो कंट्रोल नहीं कर. आरबीआई इज नॉट कंट्रोलिंग हाउ मेनी रजिस्टर्स कैन यू बाय और नॉट बाय. वैसे in case of actual currency, RBI doesn't control at what price are apples sold or what price are pomegranate sold or at what price is a pen or pencil sold. So वो तो RBI वैसे ही कंट्रोल नहीं कर रहा. लेकिन यहां पे RBI is not even controlling that how much amount of money would be there. That is why decentralized, point number 1. I hope now you understand what is meant by the term decentralized currency. Meaning there is no control as to how much money would be available, how will it be generated, who will possess, who will be given how much. No control over of central authority. This is what is meant by the term decentralized. Number 1. Now let's see what actually Bitcoin is. Let's see what actually any cryptocurrency is. Cryptocurrency. Crypto word फटाफट बताता हूं क्या है. Crypto word comes from the word encryption. Crypto words, it will take 7-8 बजे तक हो जाएगा, ध्यान से सुनते रहो. Crypto words come from the word encryption. Encryption मतलब क्या? Encrypt. WhatsApp खोलते हो, your messages are, your chat is end to end encrypted. Encrypted मतलब क्या? Encrypted means this. Encrypted means if I send to you hello on WhatsApp, I have typed in hello on my mobile phone. In my mobile phone there is an application WhatsApp. in your mobile phone there is an application WhatsApp. I have typed hello in my mobile phone on WhatsApp. Now मेरा ब्रॉडबैंड एयरटेल का है, पहले हेलो व्हाट्सएप से मेरे मोडम पे जाएगा, मोडम से इट विल बी सेंड टू एयरटेल सेंट्रल सर्वर, समवेयर इट विल बी एक्सचेंज, मान लो वोडाफोन पे हो, इट विल बी एक्सचेंज बिटवीन एयरटेल एंड वोडाफोन, then it will ultimately reach you, your phone, in your phone application Vodafone, and then when you open you will see hello. So my hello from you, my hello to you will take this very long path to reach. So it is traversing in a very long medium. Not in my, मेरे फोन मेरे हाथ में है और आपका फोन आपके हाथ में है, लेकिन जो रास्ता है जहां से वो हेलो जा रहा है वो मेरे और आपके हाथ में नहीं है. रास्ते में anybody can see what am I sending to you. If somebody has a ability to watch what is going on in the medium, optical fiber में क्या मैसेज जा रहा है, anybody if it has, he or she has ability, can see, can track, can intercept what is being sent. उस इंटरसेप्शन से बचने के लिए हम क्या करते हैं, there is something called as encryption. Encryption मतलब क्या? When I send hello to you, for example, simplest encryption क्या होगा, when I send hello to you, what will WhatsApp do? WhatsApp इसमें सब में +1 कर देगा. H का बन गया I, E का बन गया F, L, M, O का बन गया P. So when I send hello in the medium, I, F, M, M, P will go. Now if somebody is observing, they will see कि ये कुछ I, F, M, M, P जा रहा है. Doesn't make sense? Hello makes sense. आपके फोन को पता है, your phone knows that whenever message is received, इसमें से -1 कर देंगे. I का बन जाएगा H. This would be the message received by you. So in the medium this would be there. This is called encryption and this is called decryption. इसको बोलते हैं encrypt करना मैसेज को, इसको बोलते हैं decrypt करना मैसेज को. Now obviously this is, ये तो कोई भी कर लेगा, +1 -1. Messages when they are encrypted in a very secure way. जब encryption होता है it is done in a very secure way, as in इतना आसान नहीं है कि H में बस +1 कर दिया, कुछ डिफिकल्ट एल्गोरिथम लगाएंगे. Something difficult would be there to convert hello into something which is unbreakable. Unbreakable मतलब not easily identifiable by the person who is observing the medium, who is intercepting the medium. It would not be easily identifiable. It would be very, 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 very extremely difficult for the person who is observing to decode what is being sent. ये decode करना तो बहुत आसान है, केवल +1 किया है, anybody can decode it. But कुछ इस तरीके से decode, इस तरीके से कोड किया जाएगा मैसेज को, एनक्रिप्ट किया जाएगा, दैट इट बिकम्स एक्सट्रीमली डिफिकल्ट फॉर द पर्सन हु इज सेंडिंग, हु इज ऑब्जर्विंग, हु इज इंटरसेप्टिंग टू एक्चुअली सी व्हाट इज देयर इन द मैसेज. दिस इज कॉल्ड एनक्रिप्शन. तो वहां से वर्ड आया क्रिप्टो. व्हेन एन एक्सचेंज इज डन बिटवीन टू पीपल, दैट एक्सचेंज इज एनक्रिप्टेड. आई सेंड मनी टू यू, दिस इंफॉर्मेशन दैट आई हैव सेंड 100 rupees to Mr. X. This information would be completely encrypted. इसीलिए बोला क्रिप्टो. Encryption is an essential part of cryptocurrency because that is what defines it, but that is not the character which we are discussing in Bitcoin. Encryption, blockchain, ये सब टेक्नोलॉजी हैं जो कि क्रिप्टो करेंसी को और सिक्योर बनाती हैं. एक डिजिटल करेंसी को एक एनक्रिप्टेड करेंसी बनाती हैं और सिक्योर बनाती हैं, बट ये उसकी एसेंशियल कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स नहीं है. ब्लॉकचेन इज अ प्रॉपर्टी विच इज डिजायरेबल. एनक्रिप्शन इज अ टेक्नोलॉजी विच इज डिजायरेबल, विच मेक्स दीज डिजिटल करेंसीज फार मोर सिक्योर, far more difficult to be hacked by somebody, but these are desirable properties, not essentially defining properties. Essentially defining property क्या है? Number 1, decentralized, and number 2 is this that I'm going to tell you. This encryption is not essential property, desirable property. और इतनी desirable है आज की तारीख में कि ये essential बन गई है. Desirable है, but nonetheless it is still desirable only. It is not essential. Essential property क्या है दूसरी? ध्यान से सुनते रहो सब लोग. I sincerely hope that you are finding it interesting. Essential property क्या है? Please understand what Bitcoin is now. Finally, now we are coming to the point कि Bitcoin क्या है. Bitcoin is simply a game. Bitcoin एक गेम है और उस गेम के बहुत सारे लेवल्स हैं. There are levels to that game. Puzzles. It's like a puzzle, and there are levels to that puzzle. When you solve puzzle of level 1, जब level 1 की puzzle solve करते हो, you are given a certain prize. आपको कुछ prize मिलेगा. When you solve a more difficult level 2, you are given a bigger prize. When you solve a more difficult level 3, you are given even bigger prize. When you solve a difficult level 4, you are given even bigger prize. So on so forth. Difficulty keeps on increasing and so does the prize money keeps on increasing. Level 1 की पजल सॉल्व करोगे तो छोटा सा प्राइस मिलेगा, 2 की करोगे तो ज्यादा मिलेगा, 3, 4, 5, 6. The difficulty keeps on increasing and hence the prize money also keeps on increasing. Let's say the prize money for solving puzzle level 1 is 100,000 Temple Run coins. इसी को हम बोलते हैं बिटकॉइन, इसी को हमने बोल दिया बिटकॉइन. लेट्स से प्राइज मनी फॉर सॉल्विंग, इट्स अ गेम. यू क्रॉस लेवल 1 इन टेम्पल रन, यू विल बी अवॉर्डेड 100,000 coins. You cross level 1, you are awarded this much. You cross level 2, multiplied by 10. Cross level 3, multiplied by 100. Cross level 4, multiplied by 5,000. So on and so forth. The prize money keeps on increasing. Now, naturally, puzzle 1 is very easy. Level 1 is very easy. So everybody will be able to get this prize. Bitcoin में क्या किया? What they did was, what the creator of Bitcoin, who goes by the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto, what that person did was, puzzle 1 का price, he fixed the price available for all the puzzle levels. Puzzle 1 करोगे तो this was the price, this is the fixed price. When you solve it, it is given to you. When you have solved this puzzle level, it is given to you. When somebody else solves it, it is distributed amongst 2 people. When somebody else solved it, it is distributed amongst 3 people. When somebody else solved it, it is distributed among 4 people, 5 people, 6 people, so on and so forth. तो जिसने सबसे पहले solve करी, the person who solved first, that person got a large amount of this prize money. जिसने सेकंड नंबर पे सॉल्व करी, दिस पर्सन गॉट हाफ ऑफ द अमाउंट. जिसने थर्ड नंबर पे सॉल्व करी, दैट पर्सन गॉट 1/3 अमाउंट. जिसने फोर्थ नंबर पे सॉल्व करी, दैट पर्सन गॉट ओनली 1/4 अमाउंट. जिसने फिफ्थ पे सॉल्व करी, ही गॉट ओनली 1/5 ऑफ अमाउंट. नाउ द प्राइज मनी वॉज फिक्स्ड कि अगर आप सॉल्व करोगे तो आपको इतने ही प्राइज मिलेगा, और इतना प्राइज तो फर्स्ट सॉल्वर को मिल चुका है. सेकंड वाले को इसका हाफ मिला है, थर्ड वाले को इसका 1/3 मिला है, फोर्थ वाले को इसका 1/4 मिला है. बिकॉज दिस इज वेरी इजी लेवल पजल, therefore everybody is solving it. So today let's say anybody can solve it. Let's say today 10 million people have solved it. I am the 10 millionth person to solve it. मान लेते हैं that I am the 10 millionth person. Because it is very easy and I am late to this game, and before me 9.99 million have already solved it and I am the 10 millionth person to solve it. तो मुझे कितना प्राइज मनी मिलेगा? This upon 10 million, which is negligible, 0 के बराबर है. 9.99 millionth person था, उसको कितना मिलेगा? This upon 9.99 millionth, which is 0, negligible है, almost 0. This process of earning this prize money is called mining. इसको हम बोलते हैं mining. Mining क्या है? Mining is the process through which new money comes into existence. Think about it. कोल जो एकदम जमीन के ऊपर है, उसको माइन करना आसान है. जिसने सबसे पहले माइन किया, लीस्ट मेहनत के साथ उसने कोल निकाल लिया. सेकेंड नंबर पे जब माइन किया, यू नीड टू पुट इन मोर एफर्ट एंड द अमाउंट ऑफ कोल दैट यू विल एक्सट्रैक्ट इज लेस. थर्ड नंबर पे करोगे तो इवन मोर डिफिकल्ट एंड इवन लेसर अमाउंट ऑफ कोल. You keep on going deeper and deeper, more and more people start to join in. It would be even more difficult to mine coal. Mining means the process through which new money is coming into existence. जमीन से नई चीज बाहर निकाल रहे हो, गेम से नया पैसा बाहर निकाल रहे हो. You are bringing out new money from this game. Puzzle 2 is of difficult level. Level 3 is even more difficult. 4 is even more difficult. 5, 6, 7, 8 even more difficult. less and less number of people will be able to solve subsequent puzzle levels. Therefore, prize money, which is already bigger when you solve a difficult puzzle level, prize money is already bigger. Less and less people solve, and therefore the people who solve, they get relatively higher amount of money. Mining becomes difficult. Mining becomes difficult when you go down, that is, the level of complexity of the problem increases. But prize money also increases. Naturally, prize money would be higher when difficulty is more. There is a theoretical limit. Bitcoin के केस में there is a theoretical limit that आज की तारीख में लेवल 21 चल रहा है. आज की तारीख में लेवल 21 चल रहा है इस गेम का, बिटकॉइन के गेम का लेवल 21. थ्योरेटिकली लेवल 21 सॉरी लेवल 19 चल रहा है आज की तारीख में. 21 इज द हाईएस्ट लेवल, हाईएस्ट पॉसिबल लेवल. आज की तारीख में 19th लेवल चल रहा है. एक्सट्रीमली डिफिकल्ट. कंप्यूटर्स, दीज आर, अब समझो क्या है, दीज आर प्रॉब्लम्स विच नीड टू बी सॉल्व्ड यूजिंग कोडिंग. कोडिंग के साथ आपको कुछ प्रोग्राम लिखना है एंड यू नीड टू सॉल्व दीज प्रॉब्लम्स. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आई जस्ट मेक दिस अप. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, 19th लेवल की प्रॉब्लम है दैट फाइंड द स्मॉलेस्ट प्राइम नंबर of 1 million digits. Find the smallest prime number of 1 million digits. मतलब नंबर में 10 लाख नंबर होंगे और वो प्राइम नंबर निकालना है. वी हैव टू फाइंड दैट प्राइम नंबर, स्मॉलेस्ट प्राइम नंबर ऑफ 1 million digits. Imagine the level of complex calculations that the computer will have to do. अगर आप अपने कंप्यूटर में पहले तो 1 million डिजिट्स का नंबर ही नहीं लिख सकते हो, तो वी विल हैव टू क्रिएट प्रोग्राम टू राइट दैट 1 million डिजिट, एंड देन यू हैव टू क्रिएट प्रोग्राम टू सी विच 1 million डिजिट नंबर इज अ प्राइम नंबर. मतलब आपको उसके स्क्वायर रूट तक सारे नंबर से उसको डिवाइड करके देखना है. हाउ डू यू फाइंड आउट वेदर 100 इज प्राइम और नॉट? 100 एक प्राइम नंबर है कि नहीं, कैसे फाइंड आउट करोगे भाई? You know that 100 is divisible by 2, 5, 10, all these numbers, 4. Therefore 100 is not prime. If I ask you, tell me whether 107 is prime or not, तो कैसे डिसाइड करोगे? 100 के बारे में पता है. If I ask you 107 प्राइम है कि नहीं, बताओ क्या करोगे? अब आप डिवाइड करो 3 से, 7 से, 11 से, 13 से. You will have to keep on dividing with numbers which you think that भाई 2 से होता तो दिख जाता, 3 से होता तो थोड़ी डिफिकल्टी से दिखता है, 7 से होता है फिर डिवाइड करके देखना पड़ता है. The algorithm is simply कि आप 107 का अंडर रूट ले लो, स्क्वायर रूट, विच विल बी समवेयर अराउंड 11. लगभग 11 होगा. 10 का स्क्वायर इज 100, 11 का स्क्वायर इज 121. तो 1 से लेके 11 तक हर नंबर को 107 से डिवाइड करो एंड सी वेदर यू फाइंड आउट एनी नंबर विच कंप्लीटली डिवाइड्स 107. अगर 1 से लेके 11 तक कोई नंबर नहीं है, दैट मीन्स 107 वुड बी अ प्राइम नंबर. दिस इज द एल्गोरिथम यूज्ड टू टेस्ट प्राइमेसी ऑफ अ नंबर, की कोई नंबर प्राइम है कि नहीं. अब 1 million डिजिट का नंबर है, एक्सट्रीमली डिफिकल्ट, रादर इम्पॉसिबल टू फाइंड आउट वेदर इट इज प्राइम और नॉट. तो इसी लेवल की डिफिकल्ट प्रॉब्लम है. इमेजिन द अमाउंट ऑफ कंप्यूटिंग पावर रिक्वायर्ड. अगर लेवल 3, 4, 5, 6 की प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करते हो तो अब आपको चिल्लड़ भी नहीं मिलेगा. Why? Because all of those problems have been solved and you get nothing. You get nothing when you solve these problems now. Millions of people have solved and therefore no new Bitcoin will be generated when you solve these problems. New Bitcoin will be generated, or substantial amount of new Bitcoin will be generated only when you solve a level 19 problem which is right now ongoing, or level 20 or 21 problem. This is called mining process. अब इस माइनिंग प्रोसेस से क्या हुआ? इट हैज बीन फिक्स्ड, डिसाइडेड दैट व्हाट इज द मैक्सिमम नंबर ऑफ कॉइन्स दैट कैन बी जनरेटेड. व्हाट इज द मैक्सिमम नंबर ऑफ कॉइन्स दैट कैन बी जनरेटेड? इट हैज बीन फिक्स्ड. नाउ दीज कॉइन्स, दीज टेंपल रन कॉइन्स, people found out that these can be acceptable by somebody else. Imagine टेस्ला अनाउंस कर दे. टेस्ला ने अनाउंस किया था थोड़ा टाइम पहले, Elon Musk ने, Tesla announced that they would be ready to sell their cars in exchange for bitcoins. A and B were playing a game, and now Mr. Elon Musk comes in and says, मैं भी ये गेम खेलूंगा. जब एलन मस्क आ जाएंगे तो आधी दुनिया ऐसी उसके साथ आ जाएगी. Jeff Bezos now comes, Elon Musk is playing, I'll also play this game. Amazon, if you are allowed to transact on Amazon using Bitcoin, that means Bitcoin now, which earlier had no value, it was simply a coin which was, आपकी 3 पत्ती के अंदर जो कॉइन जमा है आप वो उनको यूज कर सकते हो. मान लो अमेजन पे कुछ खरीदने के लिए 3 पत्ती गेम खेलते हो, एंड द कॉइन्स दैट यू अर्न ऑन 3 पत्ती कैन बी यूज टू बाय गुड्स ऑन अमेजन. उन कॉइन्स की अब वैल्यू है कि नहीं? अदरवाइज तो उनको उनकी कुछ वैल्यू नहीं है. टेंपल रन के कॉइन से इफ यू आर एबल टू परचेज गुड्स ऑन अमेजन, तभी टेंपल रन के कॉइन्स की वैल्यू है. सो मनी इज एसेंशियली दिस वैल्यू. मनी इज एसेंशियली दिस वैल्यू. वैल्यू मीनिंग दैट something can be used as a medium of exchange. Bitcoin, earlier it had no value. It was simply a game that people were playing for fun. And I was collecting coins in Bitcoins like you are collecting coins in Temple Run just for fun. Why? Because you were solving puzzles and you thought that, okay, it is mentally exhaustive, so I'll solve these puzzles. And suddenly, all of a sudden, somebody else develops an interest and says that some real goods can be purchased from these coins. Now these coins start to have value apart outside this game. A और B के बाहर अब C भी इस गेम को खेलना चाहता है. A, B, C के बाहर जेफ बेजोस भी इस गेम को खेलना चाहता है. एलोन मस्क भी इस गेम को खेलना चाहता है. एंड दे ऑल से दैट यू कैन परचेज गुड्स यूजिंग दीज पीसेज ऑफ पेपर, यूजिंग दीज टेंपल रन कॉइन्स और यूजिंग दीज बिटकॉइन्स. This is what Bitcoin is. This is what any money is. Money is essentially, or the currency in your pocket, it's essentially a piece of paper. It is acceptable because it is acceptable. समझ में आया? अब इस बात को समझे. It is acceptable because it is acceptable. I'll explain this line and then I'll leave the class. फल वाला, the fruit vendor, accepts that 100 rupees note from you to sell his fruits because he knows that somebody else will accept these 100 rupees from him. He accepts because he knows somebody else will accept. It is acceptable because it is acceptable. Is this clear or not? He takes 100 rupees from you. That is a simply piece of paper, घिसा हुआ piece of paper जिसके ऊपर लिखा है सोनम गुप्ता बेवफा है. He accepts that piece of paper because he knows that somebody else will be willing to accept this piece of paper and give him real goods in return. उसको आइसक्रीम खानी है तो उसको पता है कि आइसक्रीम वाला उससे वो कागज का टुकड़ा लेगा और उसको आइसक्रीम दे देगा बदले में. He knows it. It is acceptable because it is acceptable. मनी इज दिस. इसको बोलते हैं मनी. एक्सेप्टेबल, एक्सेप्टेबल. This is what Bitcoin is, and it helps us to understand when we study that what Bitcoin actually is, what this digital currency is. It helps us to understand how would any money have been evolved. करेंसी नोट्स कैसे इवॉल्व किए होंगे? इसी तरीके से इवॉल्व होंगे. सरकार ने बोला करेंसी नोट्स चाहिए, ठीक है. Why would I accept a piece of paper? Because I know somebody will accept. B will accept from A or C will accept from A those pieces of paper because now C knows that D might also accept. Clear? Is this clear or not? So this is about history of money or history of currency. I'll take, it's 8:15 now. I'll leave the class. I'll see if there is any question. There are few questions. I'll answer these questions. अच्छा, Ishika is saying, will you dictate about controlling inflation as it is not given in the printed material? ठीक है, I'll explain next class में dictate कर दूँ, but there is no need to dictate controlling inflation, but I'll dictate. अगर आप बोल रहे हो तो मैं कर दूंगा, उसमें कोई जरूरत नहीं है. Let me see if there is any question. हाउ वैल्यू इज डिसाइडेड ये हमने डिस्कस नहीं किया. दिव्यांश इज आस्किंग हाउ इज वैल्यू डिसाइडेड, ये हमने डिस्कस नहीं किया. वैल्यू कैसे डिसाइड होती है कि 1 बिटकॉइन इज इक्वल्स टू $35,000 आज की तारीख में चल रहा है, 35-40,000 वट एवर द प्राइस इज. तो हाउ वैल्यू डिसाइड वो हम देखते रहेंगे, वो बाद में. वो तो बेसिकली डिमांड एंड सप्लाई है. वी विल सी व्हाट दैट इज. बट व्हाट इज दिस बिटकॉइन और फ्रॉम दिस व्हाट इज एनी मनी दैट यू हैव, है क्या वो चीज, उसकी क्या प्रॉपर्टीज हैं. दिस शुड बी क्लियर इन एवरीबॉडीज माइंड. प्रॉपर्टीज आर इंपॉर्टेंट हियर. Sir, it means that people who are able to solve these problems were initial owners of these coins, which later on came to be demanded in the market and thus developed their monetary value. Yes, certainly, yes, 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 बिल्कुल. People who were initial owners, भाई आज की तारीख में फॉर एग्जाम्पल आप बोलो कि आप कोई गेम खेलते हो, कोई शूटिंग का गेम खेलते हो, समथिंग है, सम एनीथिंग गेम, यू हैव सर्टेन पॉइंट्स कलेक्टेड देयर. आज की तारीख में उनको कोई वैल्यू नहीं है. हो सकता है फ्यूचर में कुछ वैल्यू हो, मे बी इन फ्यूचर देयर इज सम वैल्यू, देन यू, अगर वैल्यू होगी तो आपके जो कॉइन्स वर्थलेस पीसेज ऑफ पेपर हैं वो एकदम से वैल्यूएबल हो जाएंगे. अमेजॉन डिसाइड्स एकदम से बहुत वैल्यूएबल हो जाएंगे. एवरीबॉडी विल स्टार्ट डिमांडिंग आई वांट दिस कॉइन. वैल्यू ऑफ बिटकॉइन मैंने बोला ना, आई विल एक्सप्लेन वैल्यू ऑफ बिटकॉइन लेटर ऑन. देयर इज नो यूनिवर्सल लीगल. अरे अभी तो स्टार्ट हुआ है यार, आज तो आधी ब्रेक के बाद 1 घंटा पढ़ा है हमने. सारे आंसर आज ही आंसर कर दूंगा क्या, चिंता मत करो. I'll answer all these questions, but I hope this point is clear. Many of you are saying it's clear. चलो, sorry, एक question था, I'll answer. I'm really sorry. Question था, सुषमा का question था, please explain inflation spiral and reflation. Inflation spiral. If anybody wants to go, I'll not be teaching anything new. Please, you can leave. There are just 2 questions. I'll answer. एक मनु का क्वेश्चन है जो मैंने बोला था और एक सुषमा का क्वेश्चन है. I'll answer these questions. Anybody, if you want to leave, I'm not teaching anything new now. सुषमा का क्वेश्चन है, प्लीज एक्सप्लेन इन्फ्लेशन स्पाइरल एंड रिफ्लेशन. इन्फ्लेशन स्पाइरल समझ में आ गया था क्या है. स्पाइरल इज इट स्पाइरल्स अप. स्पाइरलिंग मीनिंग price of one good increase leads to price of other goods increase, leads to price of another good increase. This is what spiral, inflation spiral is. तो ऑयल का प्राइस अगर इंक्रीज हो रहा है, if price of oil is increasing, that leads to spiraling up of prices in all other commodities. If price of oil increases, it spirals out into increasing price of everything else. Inflation spiral. Price wage spiral क्या था? One example, price wage spiral was that prices increase, wages increase, prices increase, wages increase, prices increase, so on and so forth. So that was price wage spiral. Reflation क्या था? Reflation means it is an attempt to reflate the economy. If prices in the economy are very less, then जैसे हमने देखा, if prices are less, producers will not be incentivized to produce more. Producers के लिए क्या अच्छा है? Producers want prices should increase, steadily increase. Producers want that. If prices are not high or not increasing, producers would not be incentivized. Therefore, certain attempts are made to reflate the economy. Attempts are made in order to increase prices in the economy. That is what reflation is. ठीक है, मनु का क्वेश्चन आंसर करते हैं. In a question in self test said CPI is more sensitive to price change. Yes, CPI ज्यादा sensitive है price change के. How? Because in actual wholesalers and producers sometimes take the shock of price change and don't let price in retail market increase. Hence, CPI should be less sensitive to price change. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है, ये गलत आप समझ रहे हो मनु. Wholesalers and producers, it is their discretion whether they want to pass on increased price to the consumer or not. पहली बात, इनका डिस्कशन होता है. लेकिन ये कहना कि वो इस डिस्कशन को इस तरह से एक्सरसाइज करते हैं, सेइंग दिस दैट दे एक्सरसाइज दिस डिस्कशन इन अ मैनर दैट दे डू नॉट अलाउ प्राइसेस टू इंक्रीज, दैट इज रॉन्ग. एज आई गेव यू एन एग्जांपल इन द इनिशियल क्लास ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन रिगार्डिंग वो पराठे वाला जो मैंने एग्जांपल दिया था. प्राइस ऑफ अनियन इंक्रीज्ड बट प्राइस ऑफ पराठा इंक्रीज ग्रेटर. Onion would have higher weightage in wholesale price inflation because onion is traded in wholesale market. Onion will have less weightage in consumer price index. Why? Because as a consumer I am buying onion as well as paratha. So paratha will also be there in consumer price index plus onion would be there. price of paratha is increased more as compared to price of onion. So yes, price CPI would be more sensitive. Market price हमेशा ज्यादा sensitive होता है, wholesale prices कम sensitive होते हैं. If there is a change in wholesale price, it translates into greater change in market price. So yes, CPI is more sensitive. इसमें कोई doubt नहीं है, कोई दो राय नहीं है. ठीक है, चल, I'll take your leave everybody. ठीक है, I'll dictate controlling inflation. चलो, thank you everyone. Good night. Take care of yourselves. We'll see each other now next week. अगले हफ्ते मिलते हैं. Fine. चलो, bye bye.